The fifth round of the 2016 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series will see drivers head themselves to the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. This is a fantastic racetrack. It's the fastest that we will see all season long, and it's one where we think maybe the iRacing train may well end up to be dominant. There is so much to do before we get to the race. Of course, we start as ever with qualifying. That is coming your way in just a matter of moments time. Will Vincent here along with Rachel Whiteford. Johnny Simone will hopefully join us a little bit later on. And Rachel, at this racetrack, you are flat out for 70% of the lap.
Yeah, good afternoon, Will. It certainly is a fast track here at Monza, of course. This is going to favour the teams with the top-end speed. And what a track we have. Some really slow chicanes. Turn 1, you're practically stopping. We've got Ascari, one of the best complexes in all of racing. This is going to be an amazing race.
Indeed so. So we bring you our coverage then in just a couple of moments' time. But here is a look then at this fantastic racetrack. This is the Parabolica. We've got qualifying coming up in just a couple of moments' time. And Rachel, we've seen qualifying be important all season long. Here today, it will be even more important because you do not want to be in the mid-pack down into turn number 1.
Yeah, absolutely, Will. We've seen an accident there every year so far. It's so congested, so tight. There's really only room for 2 cars to go through. We're trying to get a whole field of Formula 1 cars in there, and it'd be tricky. In fact, you might see some guys take the option of the escape road through the chicane and deal with the penalty because it's going to be the safest way. In the mid-pack, you've just got to be so cautious.
So, ladies and gentlemen, qualifying is coming your way in a couple of moments' time. Welcome to the World Championship Grand Prix Series on Racebot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. Qualifying is just a couple of minutes away. Since 2010, the highest echelon of sim racing competition has focused on NASCAR and Grand Prix racing. 50 of the best drivers in the world doing battle for championship glory. Each man for himself, and even though there may be teammates on track, each driver is in command of his own destiny. Until now. 2016 sees the start of a new era in World Championship competition, with team racing getting its chance in the spotlight. No longer can one driver rule supreme, but you must rely on those with whom you share a car, a setup, a strategy. Endurance racing can be very different to other forms of motorsports, with races in this series lasting either 3 or 6 hours. Teams of 2 or 3 drivers, perhaps on opposite sides of the world, will share seat time, each having to collectively work towards one common goal. Crash out, and it's not just you who you let down. Officially sanctioned by SRO, it will be teams of drivers who will go head to head, car to car, rival to rival, in the pursuit of a championship. And there's over $25,000 in cash and prizes up for grabs. Some of the world's biggest sim racing teams are represented. There's also a group of teams who haven't seen this stage before, who want to make their mark and say we can hang with the best. The team racing revolution is here. It's loud, it's exciting, and it lives on iRacing Live, starting April 23rd. Want to win the 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series? Well, you need to qualify well. This is the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. This is one of the fastest tracks in the world and the fastest Grand Prix track, where you will be going at speeds of over 200 miles an hour. Qualifying is already underway here, so let's get you right to the action. Martin Kroenke, the first driver out of the box, then to set himself a fastest lap time. Here we look on board now with the driver of Mitchell de Jong. He heads himself through Curva Parabolica down towards the start finish line. He comes then to complete what will be his first flying lap here. Will he beat Martin Kroenke to the line? The answer to that question is actually nope. He's going on to an out lap. That's interesting. Martin Kroenke then sets the early time, but no one else has actually done a lap yet. So as it stands, Martin Kroenke leads, the only driver to put a time up on the board. There you can see Gregor Hutu. He's got himself onto a flying lap. Olli Pakala second, Graham Carroll third, but there's one driver who we really need to pay attention to. He's the only driver to have won multiple races so far this season. It is Joni Tamana in that number 51 iRacing team car. And Rachel, he wins here today. He undoes all the bad luck from rounds number 2 and 3 in the championship.
Yeah, he certainly does. And Joni Tamana, we've got to expect him to be fast here today. Well, of course, iNX, historically, they have the top end speed in their cars. They really are the ones to beat at tracks like this. And Joni Tamana, oh, he's been racing in a class of his own this season. I really think this could well be his opportunity for another win. And, well, honestly, hopefully he can put things like Sebring behind him and other events, but he's looking pretty comfortable. Hutu's out on a fast lap right now. I'll have to keep an eye on this one.
Yeah, Mitchell de Jong will be the first person of those two. They pass the start-finish line, so we go back on board with de Jong through Curva Parabolica. You can see there the speed chart up on your screen as it is Kroenke from Pakala, from De Korps, from Carroll, from Hegland. We'll talk about De Korps in a moment's time, but Mitchell de Jong past the stripe, he will come, and he'll only go P number 5. What about Hutu, Mr. 5-time? He now heads himself down the back straightaway towards Curva Parabolica. So can the number 66 Team Redline machine? No, he slowed it right down. So actually, he's going to have himself a second bite of the cherry by the looks of it. That means we can now go back and have a look at Joni Tamana. Tamana hasn't set himself a lap here. He aborts his first lap. So crazy times. That is Tamana. Had a bit of an incident down at the Ascari chicane. Hutu had one as well. He's going to try and have another go, though. Down towards turn number 1 comes Mr. 5-time of Gregor Hutu. And, well, both Hutu and Tamana right now, Rachel, the pressure is added in. You've got to nail this lap if you're Gregor Hutu. Otherwise, you'll be starting from like P20.
Yeah, certainly, and they really need to make sure to get this one across. The times will be very, very close here, so you have to be perfect, Will. But we do expect, of course, drivers like perhaps David Decor to perhaps not set a time in this race. He has at the moment, which is surprising. He set a pretty good qualifying time. It's a 23.987, but oh, we thought he might not set one because he has to, of course, take a drive-through penalty at the start of this race for last round. Qualifying, not sure why he did that, but at the moment, yes, of course, we are expecting to see things in from Hutu very shortly. He's coming up towards Ascari right now, and Joni Tamana, well, he's running through the Les Mars. No, it's Curva Grande he's running through at the moment in that iRacing number 51 car. Let's see what he can pull off, but well, the duel's really on here. We've got to expect them to be quick, and some really quick times that we've seen as well. Tomo Meglik there and Emil Henriksen, both pretty well. Emil really slow at the moment, but Tomo's put a good time in.
He has there, as they can see, Gregor Hutu. There's Sector 1, 27.891. Sector 2, 27.950. Past the start-finish line comes Gregor Hutu in the number 66 machine, and his lap time only good enough for P number 3 as it stands right now. So it's Kroenke from Pakala from Hutu. Hutu, as it stands, he has done one full flying lap. He will get himself one more opportunity. There you can see Graham Carroll. He is in the Apex Racing UK number 33 machine. He comes down now in towards turn number 1.
Well, just a moment. We have Tamana coming through the Parabolica right now. This could be a good lap time. No, he's aborted.
Yep, so Tamana, that's the second time he's done that. He's running out of time. As Muse would say, time is running out for Yoni Tamada as we go on board then with Alex Simpson in the 05 Apex Racing UK machine. A couple of drivers haven't yet set themselves a lap time at all. In fact, a lot of your field haven't set themselves a proper flying lap here. The track conditions, well, they're not that great here today. There's some crosswinds for these guys, and you can see there, wind speed of 6 kilometers an hour, air temperature 88 degrees Fahrenheit, a track temperature of 115 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can see the track is a lot hotter than the air temperature here today. Alex Simpson past the start finish line. He will come. He'll move himself up into P number 11 as it stands. As Mogar Philo up into P number 5. You've got David DeCorpes now down into 6. You've got Yuta Saito up a couple of positions as well, as we look at Danny Garcia Filler in the number 86 machine. And Rachel, I always talk about this in qualifying. Pressure. Yoni Tamada has aborted 1 lap. He's now aborted 2 laps. This is his final chance. He'll either go pole or he'll be back in something like P15. You guarantee it at this stage.
Yeah, I think that's what he's looking for, Will. Of course, he's heading down through the second Lesmos now, heading towards the Ascari complex here, under the bridge, under the old oval. He needs to nail this lap. This is important for him. He's made a couple little errors here and there. He's pushing really hard. This track, the temperature's quite warm, 85 degrees. We're looking at 115, 116 for the track temperature. That is pretty warm. This is going to be a slick racetrack, which of course makes those chicanes here doubly dangerous, Will. You've got to be perfect. You've got to get it right. And here we go. Coming down now. Parabolica for Yoni Tamala. Will we see a good lap? That's a wide apex for him. Coming out the final corner. This is his out lap. There we go. He's running for a faster lap. So we'll see if he can do it this time.
So on board then with the driver who has won twice here. But this is critical crunch time. You can see in towards the first chicane. You can see the back end just stepping out a little bit, but a good run for that first chicane. It's still Kronke from Pakada, from Hutu, Kazuki Yamashima up into P number 4. What a run by Yamashima, and who can forget what he did at Canada a couple of years ago, almost winning that motor race. Keep an eye out on that number 74 machine here today. But now, Tomara, a lot of curve there, down at the second chicane. Now, into Lesmo number 1. Let's listen in. Not bad. Not bad. Now into Lesmo 2. He actually turned it a bit early into that corner, but he gets away with it. Now he's flat out as he comes down in towards the Variante Ascari. Right?
The DRS went wide open there, Will, on the run down towards Ascari. But they can use it in qualifying on the several straights as they need to. This is critical now. Can he get this one right? He gets a good run. He ran wide here a few times. That might be too wide, Will. That might be too wide in the exit of Ascari as he come down now towards Parabolica. We'll see if he aborts or if he runs for this one.
He's going to go for it then in towards Cobra Parabolica. He will come. Yoni Tamada, number 51 iNEX Racing team car. He was a little bit wide through Cobra Parabolica, but he's going to go for the line anyway. What can that number 51 machine do as he comes past the start finish line? The answer is only P number 6 for him. Martin Kronke back out on track as Hutu goes to the top of the timing scores. Just like that, out of nowhere, Gregor Hutu, fastest lap of the day. Now Kronke is on track and he wants to respond, Rachel.
So we'll have to see what he can do to this one. Hutu, of course, putting it there on provisional pole. And Martin Kronke won't stand for that. He needs to improve by 0.3 of a second, which is a huge, huge gap here at this track, Will. So he always got stored up.
Well, see Kronke there in the VRS Karana Sim Sports machine. Hutu is done for the day, but he has pole position by a quarter of a second over Martin Kronke. Oli Pakala runs himself in third right now. There we can see Oli Pakala working himself through the second Lesmo. So Martin Kronke will come past the stripe first, but we'll turn our attention then immediately to the driver of Oli Pakala in just 1 moment's time. So Kronke now in that Karana Sim Sports number 5 machine, heading himself down in towards Curva Parabolica for what will be pretty much his final time in qualifying, heading himself then through this very fast speed corner, taking the wide line to start himself a flying lap. But there we can see Oli Pakala, he now is on a flyer. This is going to be his final time. So 2 drivers as Kronke second place onto a flying lap. Oli Pakala towards the start finish line. Can he get past his teammate? Can he get himself pole position? No, he can't. Oli Pakala only going to be P number 3 for him. So it's Kronke we need to keep an eye out on. We need to keep an eye out on, of course, Yoni Tamada as well. There we can see Yoni Tamada. He's currently working himself through Curva the Parabolica. So it'll be Kronke past the line first. So we'll go back to him first, Rachel, through the second chicane down to the Lesmos.
Certainly will be, and of course these drivers have not got much time left, Will. We're looking at just about 1 lap left if you're already starting your hot lap. So Frankie, well, he's in good position here. He's running through the, I believe that's the first Lesmos there. He's going to get a good run down towards the second here. A bit of a gravel kicked up there, really pushing this one to the second one. Running down now to the Ascari complex. Brilliant sequence of corners here, Will. The left, the right, the left again. Really good flow to this section of the racetrack as he tries to not use too much curb on the exit, can unsettle the car. You saw him bump that McLaren Formula 1 car as he jumped across the curbing. Critical corner now, you've got to get the Curva Parabolica right. This historic corner, he does run a little wide, like so many of them have done. Good bit of white line there. Running to the line, can he beat Gregor Hutu? It's a big ask. It will not be enough.
So as it stands, Hutu has pole position, but here we are then. Yoni Tamada in the number 51 NX Racing machine. Can he make it? Another pole position, another fantastic run for NX Racing. Of course, not only are they the only team to have won more than 1 round of this championship so far, they have won the last 3 rounds of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com. Unitamana past the start-finish line. He goes up to 7th place only. So it's not going to be Tamana's day here. Checkered flag is out. These guys won't be able to complete their time. Sebastian Job going to start in P number 29 in this one, Rachel. That is horrific for Job.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's not a great lap time, but I suspect the Apex boys have been upset a little bit by the surroundings, of course, rather than the usual race location. Doing this from a hotel next to Silverstone, in fact. So
Indeed.
The Apex boys have been uprooted somewhat, and, well, Sebastian Job may just perhaps didn't want to do a lap. In fact, looking at his lap numbers, no, he did run 2, he aborted them both, so, well, he knows he's in anyway. The field is smaller this week. We've only got 29 cars for this round. He's in regardless.
He is.
Could be a safe place to start in this one, actually.
He will, yeah, potentially. It could well be a very, very safe place to start for him. We'll run through then your final qualifying positions for this, and this is official, ladies and gentlemen, for this round number 5 of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, where you can see that it is going to be Gregor Hutu then, Mr. 5-time, bringing the field to the start of this motor race by 0.2 of a second, a quarter of a second, in fact, over Martin Kroenke in that VRS Coanda Sim Sports car. Oli Pakala in 3rd. Then, 3 Radicals Online drivers in a row. Mogafilo, Yuta Saito, Kazuki Omishima. Keep an eye out for all of those 3 drivers. Maybe today will be the day that Radicals win their first ever World Championship event. Then it's NX Racing with Yoni Samana in 7th. Then 3 Orion Race Team cars in a row. Marin Kolak, David Corpse, and Ilka Hapara. We'll talk about David Corpse before this race. He has got to serve a drive-through penalty, and he does have to start this race on the racetrack in order to serve that one. Before we go on, you can see there your top 10. We've got ourselves a very mixed bag. You've got 1 Coanda driver, 2 Red Lines, 3 Radicals, 3 Orions, and 1 NX Racing Team car. Behind, 2 Iberica machines, Danny Garcia Filo and Pablo Lopez. Then it's the first of the Apex Racing UK drivers of Graham Carroll. Mitchell de Jong, P number 14, probably his worst qualifying in the history of his time in the World Championship Series. Then Jorge Montanez, Robin Friscops, Antoine Heglin, Meglek, Botcha, and Piatella round out your top 20. And well, Rachel, it's worth noting there a couple of things. De Jong, well down the field. You got yourselves, at the same time though, groups of teams together. It seems to be one of those racetracks that if your team can't get the setup doing, then you're going to struggle here today.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where the setup is so critical to the racetrack, Will, and these guys need to make sure they have that thing dialed in perfection here. And, well, top-end speed, of course, DRS, ERS will be all vitally important in this one. Of course, this is the first time we've been to Monza in the new McLaren MP4-30, so it's going to be a bit different from the old Williams days, but I suspect it'll be a pretty similar format, but DRS, that could certainly change things with these huge straights.
Indeed, so there you can see the remainder of your qualifying field here today. Alex Simpson, P21. Jake Sturgios, P number 22 there. We know Sturgios can come through the field in that NX Racing Team car. It's going to be a tough fall for him. Diego Oliveira in 23rd. Paul Ilbrink, Radicals Online. Dion Verges in 25th. And you can see Emil Henriksen, Rachel, P number 26, but even though he's down in qualifying, he's a happy, happy boy right now.
He certainly is. Emil Henriksen, of course, he has become a father this week. His daughter was born on Tuesday the 12th. He is happy, she's healthy, and what he's saying already, she could be being groomed to become a Formula One driver. So congratulations to Emil, his wife, and everybody in his family on that happy news. But I suspect he is quite tired, so he might be a little sluggish today.
And there's the rest of your qualifying field. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, we're going to talk about Gregor Hutu's pole position lap. Because it came out of nowhere. We didn't see much of it, so we're going to show it to you when we come back. Mr. Johnny Simone will talk to us as well. And we'll talk about the team dynamics here, because it does look as though that if your team is struggling, you are struggling here today. This is the 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series from the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. We'll be back with more after these messages. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Monza, where Mr. 5-time gets himself another pole position here. We have just probably lost the entire qualifying lap. No, we haven't. We're going to ride ourselves a lap then on board with Mr. 5-time, Gregor Hutu. And it all starts for him early. He does different to most other drivers. He actually goes very slowly all the way down into the curve of Parabolica. So this then is Gregor Hutu. You can see, listening to this lap now, he actually picks up the pace into curve of Parabolica. And actually, Rachel, that's a very different strategy to everyone else. Everyone else was hot on their outlap to get the heat into their tyres. Hutu was like, no, I'm going to calm it down on the way into Parabolica to get optimum tyre temp into this first chicane.
Yeah, I think he was definitely doing that. It's certainly a very different strategy, and it might have worked for him here. It was very different to everybody else, which I think does identify that, well, that's why he had nearly a quarter-second gap over the field. It was a little off strategy, but very effective.
There you can see him then down into the second chicane. Let's have a look on board with him as well. He clips the curbs nicely. And Rachel, this racetrack, you've got low curbs but sausage curbs on the outside. So you can abuse the curbs, but not as much as Imola. But then if you go a little bit too wide, you do end up meeting what we like to call those big orange sausage curbs.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those that have seen them or driven across them, they are aggressive. And if you get your car up on those things, it's not going to land in the same direction. So these guys have to be very careful about not clipping the curbs too much. Orange ones are bad. Yellow ones are even worse. They'll put you in orbit. They are huge, and they're designed specifically to discourage people from cutting the chicanes. Should someone make a mistake or have to take evasive action here, they could be actually damaged by hitting those things. So everyone's got to be very careful, and hopefully everything will go in the right direction.
Well, there's a lap then on board of Gregor Hutu as he gets himself then to the top of the timing stands, and he will lead the field to the start of the 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Johnny Simone is here right now on Racesport TV. And Johnny, it's interesting to note here today that teams played a big thing, and specifically, iRacing weren't at the top of the timing stands like we thought they would be. Yoni Tamada is only down in P number 7, and this is a track that we predicted they would be almost untouchable at.
Yes, certainly, and good evening everybody too. And last year we did see Jake Sturgis was the top driver for the iRacing team, and this season it's mostly been Joni Tomala, and I'm talking about Jake Sturgis at Monza at least. So we're expecting with their straight line speed, a tendency that the team tends to travel towards with setup would have gotten them up into the top 5, top 10 at this racetrack, certainly with a couple cars. Maybe not working out as well for them here, who knows, could be a lot of different issues in terms of how they approach setting up the car. Could be a little time in terms of practice, because that's a big key that affects sim races. Is there's sometimes a 2-week span where you don't practice as much, and it goes to show in your race results too. So that's something to look out for with a few teams down the order today as well, like Apex Racing UK. They've had a good strong start to the season, but not many drivers here today to race hard.
And we've also noticed one other thing here, Johnny, the fact that the field is smaller here today. And we think there might be a little bit of a reason for that. Of course, these guys are worried at this track. It's in my opinion, it is the Grand Prix version of Talladega. It is the track where you could end up getting involved in a big incident. But we've got the Blancpain GT1 Endurance Championship starting in just 1 week's time. So maybe some drivers are too busy preparing for that, and they thought, here today, nah, give it a miss. Especially considering the fact it is Monza.
Well, drivers such as Joni Tomala can't do that because they already have 2 DNFs to their name.
Yes.
And the other 2 races where they have finished, they do have race wins. So it depends on where you are in the standings as a driver. You know, someone like Peter Berryman, who's 5th in the standings, has done such a great job to start the season. He can afford to take a week off. But then here's the dilemma. Next week, you show up and you end up spinning out of the race off a driver error or something like that. I mean, it's Watkins Glen. It's destined for incidents. You may take 2 drop weeks in a row, and that's something you want to avoid. So, I mean, I guess if it was me personally, I'd want to take every week as I could, whether or not, even if I had minimal practice, I'd still want to show up at least.
Yeah, and I'll bring in Nick Rowland here, who's our social media guy and a good friend of mine, into the conversation here, because Watkins Glen, coming up in 2 weeks' time, is another of those Trojan horse racetracks. You know, you get that track wrong, it will bite you and bite you hard. Attrition is normally high here. People finish out of position. So you got 2 very difficult racetracks in a row. That means that we always talk about heading into the month of May. You've got to get yourself momentum. So Hutu being on pole position here today, once again, for the God knows how many seasons in a row, the momentum is all of a sudden in Hutu's favour.
Yeah, momentum's a big thing, especially when it comes to the mid part of the season, where Hutu is historically been very, very strong anyway. So coming into the mid part of the season, we've seen in previous championships others start very fast and out the box very early, but then all of a sudden we get this Hutu stretch in the middle, which then just sort of like solidifies the championship, bringing it back to him. And I think we potentially could see that, where we've seen maybe other teams get a little bit more accustomed to the car, the way that it drives, the way it's set up, faster than what we've seen previous. And now the teams like Redline and Hutu are just starting to edge their way back in, and especially going into this stretch now, and from one to another extreme, with two very differing tracks, it could actually work in his favour, and we have seen it before.
10 seconds each. Rachel, I'll start with you. Who's going to win this motor race?
It's going to be a tough call. I think my money would have to go on Yoni Tamala, but after that qualifying time, I'm not entirely sure. So, the easy favourite would be to pick someone like Gregor Hutu. I think it could be time for some of his teammates to shine. My money's on Ollie Bakala.
Johnny?
I think Hutu from pole position. He did win this event last year, the first event ever at Monza for the iRacing World Championship. I think he can do it again from pole.
Mr. Nick Rowland?
Qualifying tough, but Tormala.
Okay. Personally, I want you to keep an eye on the number 74 machine, Kazuki Omishima. We know what he can do when he qualifies inside the top 10. He's in 6th place there. If he survives lap number 1, Kazuki Omishima could well end up being in position in this motor race. And ladies and gentlemen, the race is around the corner. This is the 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series here on Race Stop. What? Should we start that again?
Probably should.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series is around the corner here on RaceSpot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live as Gregor Hutu will start this race on pole position. The race is coming up in just a couple of moments' time from the fastest track in Grand Prix racing. Who will win? We don't know yet, but we can guarantee it will be a very, very exciting race.
I'm an engineer at iRacing. I put together vehicle models. Started earlier in the year with a partnership with Mazda and Long Road Racing Engineering, where they supplied us with access to the car data, access to their drivers to allow us to put together really high-level vehicle model, and it's turned out really well so far in the development stages.
These new MX-5s are incredible. Between the BF Goodrich tire and then all the suspension engineering that Long Road Racing and that Mazda has done, I've been very fortunate to be one of the lead development drivers for the new Global MX-5 Cup car. We've done a lot of R&D on not only suspension, but things that will not only improve the safety of the vehicle for racing, but also the longevity of it in a racing environment. A couple fun aspects have been for us, not only on the suspension development side, but the virtual world side with iRacing, actually mirroring some of the same, for instance, damper settings or brake pad changes that we've made for different compounds and such, and then we'll actually mirror that in iRacing. It's incredible to me how similar both when we're driving the car on the test day and then we're on the sim, that we're actually able to make changes in iRacing to the damper valving, and it correlates exactly to our findings on the racetrack.
It was quite interesting. It was sort of the first time in iRacing where we developed a car in the sim along with a manufacturer and a race team. Generally speaking, a team or a manufacturer will send us a data dump of information covering everything from tires to aero if the car is set up that way, all the mechanical bits. The big difference is those cars are generally already in production or already racing, and this go around it was essentially from scratch. When Long Road Racing received their cars, we started getting our first bits of data, and as they got more data, we got more data, and we were able to go back and forth in the sim and compare with how the car performs on the racetrack.
Since 2010, the highest echelon of sim racing competition has focused on NASCAR and Grand Prix racing. 50 of the best drivers in the world doing battle for championship glory. Each man for himself, and even though there may be teammates on track, each driver is in command of his own destiny. Until now. 2016 sees the start of a new era in World Championship competition, with team racing getting its chance in the spotlight. No longer can one driver rule supreme, but you must rely on those with whom you share a car, a setup, a strategy. Endurance racing can be very different to other forms of motorsports, with races in this series lasting either 3 or 6 hours. Teams of 2 or 3 drivers, perhaps on opposite sides of the world, will share seat time, each having to collectively work towards one common goal. Crash out, and it's not just you who you let down. Officially sanctioned by SRO, it will be teams of drivers who will go head to head, car to car, rival to rival, in the pursuit of a championship. And there's over $25,000 in cash and prizes up for grabs. Some of the world's biggest sim racing teams are represented. There's also a group of teams who haven't seen this stage before, who want to make their mark and say we can hang with the best. The team racing revolution is here. It's loud, it's exciting, and it lives on iRacing Live, starting April 23rd. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Autodromo Nazionale Monza, the home of the 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. Anyone who's ever raced at Monza will know one thing. This track is fast. You're on full throttle for 70% of the lap. So, we thought it'd be NX Racing's day because they love these fast-speed tracks. However, Yoni Tamada, he struggled in qualifying. He could only manage P number 7. Gregor Hutu has pole position. Oli Piccola is right up there as well. You got yourself one of the commander drivers of Martin Kroenke up, because Mitchell de Jong had a horrific qualifying. But then you got yourself 3 Radicals drivers inside your top 6. Maybe they will be your surprise team of the day. Welcome to RaceSpot TV. Welcome to WCS on RaceSpot, ladies and gentlemen, as it is Will Vincent along with Johnny Simone, Rachel Whiteford. We're going to go to the grid in just one moment's time. But Rachel, this is going to be a fantastic race here today.
Certainly is, Will, and we're looking forward to an exciting round. Of course, the first time we've been here in the McLaren MP430 Formula 1 car. Monza historically is a classic race, so this time should be no different.
And Johnny, as terms of the grid goes, we'll start showing it for you on the screen right about now. It is going to be Gregor Hutu on pole position. It will be Martin Kroenke in P number 2. Your 2 championship favourites heading into the season. But you go on back, you've got to keep an eye out on that number 23 machine of Mo Garfido, because he consistently qualifies inside the top 5 right now.
But that's been his issue all season, is that he qualifies well. He suffers in race pace as the race progresses. So unless he's rectified that issue, I wouldn't be surprised if he falls down the order in the early stages. Let's hope so, though, because Mogar is a very hard-working, determined driver. So he hopefully has found a way over the past 2 weeks to improve his early stage race pace.
Yuta Saito, Kazuki Mishima, that is a third row of the grid that you can just salivate over. 2 Radicals Online drivers in the third row of the grid, then Yoni Tamada in the NX Racing team in P number 7, Marian S. Kolak in P number 8. We'll cycle through the rest of your grid then very quickly. David Corbs, we think we will have to do a drive-through penalty there in the first 3 laps of this motor race. Ilka Hapana, your top Orion Race Team car in P number 10. 29 drivers here today, and we're bringing our social media expert, Nick Rowland. Nick, what are we looking forward to in this race?
If Hutu can run off at the front, that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, but I've got a big feeling he won't be able to. Whatever the case may be, watch out for Tormula from 7th place, because we know how well he's done, and he's also my tip for today.
Well, yeah, we know that Yoni can pass drivers. He's done it so many times. Practice, warm-up is over. Hey, guess what? It's time for racing here at Monza. So now we head ourselves down to your starting grid, and Gregor Hutu will head himself down to that pole position spot in just 1 moment's time. But this is Monza. Turn number 1 can be so important here. Ladies and gentlemen, please use the hashtag IRGPMonza if you'd like to keep in touch with us throughout the course of this motor race. You can also follow us on social media, /Racebot TV on Facebook, at Racebot TV on Twitter, if you'd like to hear all the random things that we like to talk about, and also all the other World Championship events as well. Of course, the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com. The last 3 of those have been won by an NX Racing Team driver. But here then comes your grid onto the start-finish line and getting themselves ready for this, the 5th round of the championship. And of course, in 1 week's time, it is the Blancpain GT World Endurance Championship, round number 1, here on Racebot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. You do not want to miss that one in 1 week's time. If you were going to use a hashtag, it'll be simple. It'll be hashtag hype. 53 laps then, about to get themselves underway here at the fantastic Monza. Lights are on, lights are off. Green flag in the air, we go racing. A good start by Hutu, a better start though by the driver of Martin Kroenke. In towards turn number 1 they come. Kroenke should take that race lead away from Gregor Hutu in towards the first corner, and indeed he does. So Kroenke will lead that first one, but will they all survive? Well, they're 3 wide, they're beating, they're banging a little bit, but they will survive this first chicane. 1 driver takes the escape road, but Rachel, they all get through. Oh, we're going to car hard into the wall there. Down at Curva Grande. Everyone else is through. But 1 car, a big incident down at Curva Grande, and a big incident by 1 driver down to the second chicane.
Yeah,
and it's Tormana! It's Tormana!
Oh no, yes it is. It's Yoni Tamala. He's had a big moment there, Will. Hopefully try and get a replay of that one. Yeah, he's gone for the second chicane. He was running down there towards it, I believe. Oh, he got on the grass. He had to take evasive action there onto the grass and hit the wall. So a car may be okay. We don't know. It wasn't a huge hit.
He got a little bit of a hit from behind, but there you can see Tormana. You can see that was, in some ways, a very big hit as well. Yoni, unfortunately, there, you can just see just how slow that car was going. But, well, he is your big incident there in your first lap. We have a couple of people also involved. We've had Alex Simpson. He's going towards pit road. I think maybe, Johnny, he was a driver we saw going off down at Curva Grande as Martin Kroenke leads this motor race.
Yes, it definitely was Alex Simpson in that Apex Racing UK car who went straight to the escape road here at turn 1 where the leaders are approaching, and unfortunately lost the car after that. Got into a little bit of contact too with a few drivers. And let's see how Umashima's car holds up. That's a big question because he did get a lot of damage there for hitting the back of Yoni Tormula. And let's see if his car holds up well. So far it seems to be fine for Kazuki in that Radicals car.
David Corpse having to do a drive-through penalty in the first 3 laps of this motor race. He's done it early. He's back out on track. But Martin Kroenke, what a start by him. He leads this motor race right now by 1 second. And Rachel, we knew if you're Koan that you needed to pounce early because we know they have these inherent tyre issues. They want an early advantage, try and get themselves a little bit less of a struggle later on.
I don't think we're going to see as much with the tyre issues here today, Will, of course. It's a very different kind of racetrack. I think in this case, Coranda might be a little bit better off here because we have the real tricky corners are all slow speed corners and they'll be able to carry speed there. There aren't that many corners on this track at all. We've got the turn 1 chicane. Of course, we've got the flat out corner, which is Curva Grande. You've got second chicane, you've got the Lesmos, you've got Ascari, Parabolica. It's not a lot of corners, so they should be okay here. We haven't got a lot of high-speed flowing corners, which really were their undoing.
Riley Preston is well down your field right now as Martin Kroenke sets the fastest lap of this motor race so far, but Riley Preston up into P number 21 in that Orion race team number 94 machine, heading himself down towards the start finish line. And well, Riley Preston is up 5 places in this race already. He has had a fantastic start as Yoni Tamara is officially out of this motor race, Johnny.
Yeah, he is, as Preston has a look up the inside here of Jake Sturgis. And Sturgis, oh, a little bit of a tap there for Preston, but nice little save on the exit. Low speed, so it's much easier to save down in a high-speed section of the racetrack, which they're approaching right now. So Sturgis, who did finish in the top 10 last year, is down the order this race as Sebastian Job also makes his way past. This is a good little fight through the field here for Riley Preston. He's had a strong result. So there you go.
Sturgis Load completely messed up the second chicane there. As we'll go back and have a look on board of him, he has a big issue down into that second chicane on old Rachel. Coldest tyres then, they're still bringing them up into temperature, and Sturgis gets offline, and he comes into the corner, and he gets tagged from behind, actually.
Yeah, he does, and not a great place for that to happen. It's really unfortunate timing, but just wrong place, wrong time, Will.
Well, back out front, Martin Kroenke, 1.7 second advantage over Gregor Hutu right now. He is pounding the laps in. And then from Hutu to Pakala is 0.8 of a second. If you're Ari Pakala, this is actually the perfect place where you want to be. About 1 second back from Hutu, so you can still get the draft, but not get the full effect of that dirty air. We're on board of him. In towards turn number 1. The first chicane, once again, the Variante Retofilio as they come out of this one. Now through Curva Grande, once again behind. Got yourself side by side. Thomas Meglek and Antoine Hegelen in towards that first chicane. Meglek will lose out there. Antoine Hegelen will be the beneficiary as they now head themselves down in towards Curva Grande themselves. One driver we do need to pay attention to, though, is the driver of Mitchell de Jong in that number 24 machine. We talked about how his qualifying was abysmal. He is up 6 places in this event so far, Johnny.
Yeah, and his first event this year where he hasn't qualified on the front row, so it's very disappointing to see him so far down the order, but it's also very entertaining for us fans here in the commentary booth and all those watching as you get to see a world-class rallycross driver who's going to fight his way through the field and prove his racecraft and prove how worthy it is. He's got 3 cars in front, so that's Filio, Umashima and Cholak. If he can catch right up to the back of this group, I wouldn't be surprised if he can make his way past, but let's see if his struggles for pace are not just qualifying mistakes. Maybe it could just be a little bit of a lack of practice for this event.
Martin Piatella and Jorge Montanez then. Piatella moves himself past Montanez in the battle for P number 13 as it stands right now. Just to let you know, Yuta Soto up into P number 4. And he talked about this, Rachel. Mogar Filo, he qualifies well, but doesn't always do as well in race pace. As you can see now, that is Kazuki Omishima looking down to the inside and past his own teammate in towards the first chicane.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's currently still Yuta Saito there ahead of Kazuki Omishima. Of course, it was Omishima involved with Yoni Tamala there in that first lap contact, just braking way sooner. But right now he is chasing his teammate, that's up to P5 at the moment, past Mogar Filo. So Radicals having a really good running here. We've got a real pod of Radicals all getting very close to each other.
Are they radical enough, Rachel?
They could well be radical enough, except they're a little too radical for Yoni Tamala.
Indeed so. As you can see, Mogar Fido running himself right now in that 6th position. Yuta Saito, though, 1.2 second advantage over his teammates. He's pulling away and now hunting down Oli Pakala, who's 3 seconds ahead on the racetrack. Now, Johnny, if you are Yuta Saito, you've just got to push right now in these early stages of this event, but strategy will be a big thing here. 1 stop versus 2 stop is what we think here today. Yuta Saito needs to make sure that he gets himself into the coattails of Oli Pakala, but not pushing too hard at the same time.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, because you're on your own now on the racetrack. You're not in DRS over the car in front as Saito gets 2 wheels onto that green little painted tarmac, whatever it is there on the outside of the Parabolica. So he's got Umeshima 1.1 seconds behind. He needs to sort of just find his rhythm at this stage of the race, because Saito is one of those drivers that has struggled for consistency in the past, but this is something to note. He has moved recently, as early as Sebring, to the Radicals Online team, and you see these spikes in performances you might not see with a driver who, if he stayed with the Ronin Racing team on his own. So he learns, he picks up more, and that's something that as Filio drops down to 6th now, Filio is struggling for the pace. I don't know if that's an ERS issue or something he suffers with. It has to be ERS.
Well, yeah, you can see he's down into P number 6 right now. And just behind, Marin Kolek versus Mitchell de Jong. De Jong right onto the rear now of this coach train really quickly. In fact, last time by, he was 6 tenths of a second faster. De Jong is fantastic right now. He is charging, and he's looking now at the rear of Marin Kolek, but he's into that dirty air as we go on board of him, down into the Variante Ascari, through this very fast chicane. It's a free corner chicane, now heading towards Curva Parabolica, and Rachel, if he gets his corner right, he can at least take at least one car in towards that first chicane.
Certainly should, Will, and these straights are really the opportunity for DRS to take effect, and you can really get a good pass completed, especially with how close he is. But unfortunately, look there in front of him, that's Marinas Kolak in the car ahead of him, and just ahead of him it's Mogar Filo, so they're all getting each other's draft effect, so it's kind of neutralising that factor. In fact, we'll see that Marinas Kolak go to the outside of Mogar Filo into turn 1. He will hold it in there, and he does hold the inside. This has really brought Mitchell de Jong to the back of these two.
Yeah, there's Mitchell de Jong. Johnny, go ahead.
Oh, he almost got forced off the racetrack there. Sorry to jump in, but Mitchell de Jong, as he has a look now from a aggressively defending Cholak, and he makes his way through. That is a scintillating pass there from Mitchell de Jong. Just simply paid back Marin Cholak for almost not giving him enough room and forcing him off the racetrack there, but it's all clean so far, so I guess no one's really to blame, and they all race for another lap, and there's still plenty of laps to go in this event. Let's
talk about retirees in this event so far. Alex Simpson in the 05 Apex Racing UK machine. He would wish that he'd booked a better hotel right now. And also Yoni Tamara in the number 51 machine. Well, here's the situation here, Johnny, for Yoni. He's won 2 races, more than anyone else in this series so far, but he's now going to have 3 DNFs. That's not the way to win a championship, and Martin Conke method does work very well. Not always winning races, but being there in the top couple of drivers. And well, if you are the driver of Yoni Tamara right now, you're thinking, what do I need to do to survive these racetracks?
Well, yeah, you say that, Will, but 2 of those DNFs have been through no fault of his own, and I'm not trying to take shots at people who say that a lot. That is true. And Yoni Tomala, as Mitchell de Jong, has a look up the inside here of Mogar Filio and outbrakes himself as well. And he might claim this position. We'll talk about this action very close there.
Yeah, because they did have a little bit of contact there. Mogar Filio going to lose himself another position in that Radicals Online machine. Replay of that one coming up then down towards turn number 1. We're having a look then on board of Mogar Filio. There you can see the first driver, Mitchell de Jong, going past. De Jong actually goes a little bit wide into the first chicane. The 2 almost make contact, and well, Filio getting out of the gas allows the guy of Marin Kolak to go past. And this is what you talked about here at the top of this show here, Johnny, that Filio does struggle on race pace.
Now he has, and it's been a topic of conversation not only with me but with the drivers as well internally. They notice the fact that Filio does qualify well and struggle, and you go back to like manual ERS deployment and how these guys do it. Some drivers like to use a fixed mode, some drivers like to deploy it manually. That's one setting that can come into play, but hey, if I knew the issue and if Mogar knew the issue, he wouldn't be in this situation. So that's the funny part about it. Going back to Tormula, 2 of his DNFs have been, he's just been driving and someone else has hit him. One of them has been through one of his own mistakes, and the other 2 races he's won. I wouldn't do anything differently if I was Yoni.
But he is now going to be probably outside of the top 10 in the championship. And Rachel, that asks a big question. Do you win races, or do you go and do the consistent method? Because, hey, you've got to remember, this is a 16-race season here this year. These guys are going to be consistent every single lap of every single race. There's a big train there from P10 through to about P number 14.
Yeah, there really is. It's getting very, very congested there as Pahala leading that train, and past them will go Grim Carroll, making a pass on Pablo Lopez there into the second chicane as he Oh, yeah, there we go. Lopez backing out a little bit as this is getting very congested here. Big trolling train there behind Ocon Pala.
Yeah, Pablo Lopez now will fall himself down and pick to P number 12 in this event. He has moved himself now. Well, he was up one place in this event and it's now neutral. Once again, Pablo Lopez starting 12, running in P number 12 right now in that Iberica Race Team car. But let's go back to the front of this motor race with just one moment if we can. And that is Martin Kroenke now with a 2.1 second advantage over Gregor Hutu. The last couple of laps, Hutu has been losing time, but not that much time, Rachel. He's now losing only a tenth or so of a second of a lap. And there's a comparison. Last time by, Kroenke was only 3/100ths of a second faster than Mr. 5 time.
Yeah, he was, but it's fast enough at the moment, and 2 seconds is clear of draft range, Will. So that's very important there for Martin Kroenke. He's out of Hutu's range to catch him, unless he makes a mistake. Unless he slows down, his tyres wear, he's past that draft range, so he has dropped him, and the gap will widen as we're looking at P13, 14 at the moment. That is a huge fight there as Pablo Lopez, well, he's not dropping, but Danny Garcia Filal is dropping Friscop, so the next will start to come past, and Anton Heglen, he also wants to get involved.
Yeah, there's Danny Garcia Filo then, and they're going to go side by side and the run down in towards the second chicane here, and Danny Garcia Filo in P number 14 will allow Robin Friscop to just go past. Behind there is the driver of Antoine Hegelen in the Apex Racing UK machine. As you can see through Lesmo number 1, they will come now. You can't really pass into these two Lesmos, and actually it's worth noting that these guys have got to balance straight line speed with dynamics here, Johnny. You know, you always want straight line speed, but at the same time, if you can't be fast through the Lesmos, through the Parabolica, through the Curva Grande, you're not going to get yourself anywhere in this event, as Antoine Hegelen looks there to Danny Garcia Filo, but not able to do anything into Ascari.
Yeah, now he's going to have a look to the Parabolica, but you mentioned about setting up your car on this racetrack. You do want to be fast in the straight lines, but if you can get a good run out of those corners and sacrifice a little bit of straight line speed, I'd take that as well if that's faster around the racetrack. As Mitchell de Jong now in P7, oh so close to Marin Cholak behind, but he still can't make his way past. So, this is what qualifying does. It shakes up the grid quite a lot. We expected Hutu to run away with the lead, but with only 2-lap qualifying, it makes it a little bit different as Hegelen makes his way up to P14.
Yeah, they can see Antoine Hegelen then. He's going to try and make a move, and he will make the move there. He'll get himself past the driver of Danny Garcia Filo in the Iberica Racing Team car. So Apex Racing UK with the advantage over Iberica as it stands right now. But behind, here comes Riley Preston. He's going to do exactly the same thing. A 2-for-1 special there, Johnny, for Apex Racing is behind as well. You got Andre Borcha, who is way out of place right now, working himself through the field.
And Hegelen had a spin at the exit of the second chicane. So Anton Hegelen, a driver who's so underrated in this series, on the exit of the Della Roggia chicane, that second chicane, he just lost the car on the exit. So not sure if that was bouncing over these aggressive sausage curves, which we've spoken about. They've unsettled a few drivers who really dance with their luck here. So that could have been an issue for Hegelen.
Oh, sorry guys, I was just going to interrupt for a brief second there. A big tap there with Jorge Montanez and Riley Preston there going into Ascari, 2 out of the corner, and a bit of wheel tapping going on there. That was nearly a moment.
In terms of Antoine Hegelen, he did catch the sausage curve. Let's go then and have a look then. Riley Preston, because he, of course, is running towards the front of your field. Let's see what we can get that one. Replay up for you. There is Riley Preston through the second Lesmo down in towards the Variante Ascari. You can see there is, he's trying to pass there one of the Iberica team cars. We go on board with him right about now down into the Variante Ascari. And while Preston, well, he does go all forms of sideways for a moment. He does survive and he does move himself past. He's now up into P number 14 in this motor race. But as it stands, things are starting to settle down just a little bit, they say. Andre Borcha now versus Danny Garcia Filo, and it is going to be Andre Borcha working himself past Filo, but Borcha goes all forms of off there, and Borcha's going to lose himself 3 positions, Rachel.
He is, and that's not good at all. Andre Borcha there really losing out at that moment, and not what he needs to have happen. Borcha, he's going to be stuck in his train now, Will. He's right back in traffic here. This is not going to be good for his race.
Yeah, let's have a look then down in towards the second chicane. He came and he just touched there those big yellow curves which are designed to stop people from going off the racetrack. But Andre Borcha and that VRS kind of Sim Sports machine well, he's now down in P number 18, and that is not where he wants to be. Overall, Commander are struggling, and maybe I'm thinking that Martin Kroenke out front is on a different chastity, Rachel, compared to the likes of the rest of them, because he does not want to be in traffic. Maybe that Commander car does not work well in dirty air.
Well, he might be, but I'm not entirely sure, Will. At the moment, he's running good laps, but there's really nothing to change his strategy right now. Of course, this is a 53-lap race. We're expecting it to be probably one stop for this one. Tires are not going to be as critical as they have been at other tracks, so it's likely for him to just try and stay out front. He's increasing his gap over Hutu, so keep moving that one up.
David Garcia Filo versus the driver of Paul Ilbrink, and Garcia Filo will win that battle for the time being. But let's turn our attention then back to the rear, because Filo isn't close enough to the rear of Sebastian Job. Sebastian Job, though, has had a fantastic race here, Johnny. He started at the very rear of the field. He's now up into P number 15. And, oh, I say that as he just lost himself a position. But Sebastian Job overall has had a fantastic race. He has, though, just had an incident. I think maybe he got himself a cut course penalty.
Yeah, he did cut that second chicane, all four wheels off the racetrack, and he's penalised, rightly so. As he needs to defend from Ilbrink here, he can't make it worse than it already is. So into Ascari, Job keeps it together. His best race this season was round 1 at Interlagos, but he hasn't been the same really since then. We haven't seen him up as much as we were expecting. You know, is he going to pick up his pace again around Silverstone, round 7, which he's still developing, he's still learning, so I'm not sure why the inconsistency is shown this season. We were expecting him to be a consistent top 5, top 10 runner, and his teammates have shown that, so it's definitely not a team issue.
It's not, no, but Apex Racing are struggling here today. Martin Kroenke leads this motor race now by 2.2 seconds over Gregor Hutu. Oli Pakala runs himself in 3rd, Kazuki Omishima in 4th. Omishima is, though, 6 seconds behind Oli Pakala, and Rachel, we thought that maybe Omishima could charge towards the front. He has, but not in the extent he wants to, and now 6 seconds to Pakala is a lot of time to make up, as there are only 14 laps into this 53-lap event.
Yeah, we are. It's not a huge amount of time, but he can do what he can here. It's going to be very difficult for him, of course. Not as far up the field as we thought. He has dropped back a lot. 5 seconds behind Hutu. That's a big, big gap. But Omishima and Saito, the 2 Radicals cars, doing incredibly well here. They're up in the top 5. That, for me, is a sign that Radicals have really got something with this setup here today.
I'll tell you one thing. I'm going to bring Nick Nolan into the conversation here, because Radicals, of course, are a very social team. If you are Radicals Online's team manager Andy Kay, do you say push or do you say hold position?
Currently I would say hold position. Saito actually made a mistake in turn 1 where he went straight over the chicane and got a slowdown penalty as well. Umishima slipped by, and since that point they've been lapping pretty consistently. Saito's flicked open the DRS a couple of times, but still been able to maintain position for Umishima. So I'd say hold it, but if the gap behind between Kolak and De Jong starts to come down, then start to worry and maybe switch again.
Okay, they can see Yuta Saito there in P number 5, and then number 32, Radicals Online Machine, just clipping there. Those curbs on the second chicane are very deceptive, Johnny, mainly because of the fact that they look as though they're shallow curves, but they're not. They're actually higher curbs than what you'll see at the rest of these 3 chicanes.
Yeah, you search for the brake marker into the corner, you carry as much speed, you trail brake, but it definitely unsettles the car. You speak about oscillation in terms of the suspension and how you set that up to come to the race, and that's something that maybe Radicals have aced well here today at Monza in terms of taking the curbs. That's one of the critical factors to this racetrack is curb usage and really powering out of the corners, because, yeah, you've got sausage curbs that limit how much you can cut them, but you've got the Ascari chicane where there's that little bump too midway through that can really unsettle your car. There's so many factors that account for setup here. You think with only 11 turns on this racetrack, there's not much car setup involved. It's as much as any other racetrack out there.
We just saw there Mogar Filo going off. We also saw Jake Sturgis moving himself up a position there over the driver of Andre Borcha. And this is a very interesting battle there going on with Jake Sturgis. Jake Sturgis now up a position or 2. Yeah, I say this, P number 25 for Jake Sturgis. When's the last time we were talking about Jake Sturgis being this far down in the field? But Rachel, we have noticed that a lot of teams are struggling here. If your team setup does not work well. If you do not find the balance early on, it's like going back to the late 1990s, looking at the likes of McLaren versus Ferrari, and a Ferrari track versus a McLaren track. And it does seem to be here today that some of these teams are struggling more than drivers are struggling.
I think they are, and it's definitely a huge amount of work for a team here to organise this one. It's when you get it right, it's great, but when you get it wrong, it's going to hurt everybody at once. And you're on a recovery strategy almost. You have to try and find what you can do to limit the damage. You are fighting on the back foot, and a few of these guys really are having to do that, and it's not what we expected to see. I think the biggest surprise I've seen today has been NX Racing. They're really, really suffering. I mean, Yoni Tamara could only put it into P8, and his teammates have really not had the speed we expected today. Is this perhaps the time to change the old adage that if it's in a straight line, NX will win it?
Well, yeah, probably you can after this one. Here are your biggest moves and shakers in the event so far. You notice, though, that Mitchell de Jong is up 7 places there in that number 24 machine down towards turn 1. He is right on the rear of the driver of Marin S. Kolak. And Johnny, talk us through then the rest of this lap on board with Mitchell de Jong.
He's heading through now the Curva Grande, trying to search for a pass on Marin Cholak. You're just tucking into the slipstream. This second chicane here, the Della Roggia, braking just under the bridge, using as much curve, and you can see there de Jong misses both apexes. Horrible second chicane from Mitchell de Jong. One of my favorite corners on the racetrack. Lesmo 1, very blind on the exit. Now you can see the dirty airs picking up as he approaches the rear end of Cholak, so he's going to struggle in terms of turning point. And do not touch that grabble on the outside. de Jong plays with fire there. Now a little bit of a kink on the straight, and he's heading under the old oval here, the old banked oval at Monza, on towards Ascari. This is a tight chicane, so you must nail this right for a good run out towards the Parabolica, using all the track on the outside as well to gain a little bit extra speed. Now Parabolica here, they've ruined this corner with the fact that they've removed most of the gravel on the outside, but you're essentially trail braking in onto the throttle, nice and early, basically like you're rolling onto it, as much as you see in NASCAR. And once again, de Jong is putting his rallycross to the test here. He's drifting through that Parabolica corner.
He is, but he still remains in P number 7 in this motor race. As it stands, Yuta Saito versus Omishima. Saito has fallen down from the rear of that driver of Kazuki Omishima just a little bit, Rachel. He is now scored 6/10 of a second back as we go on board with him.
Yeah, he certainly has, and he's dropping back a little bit, but the two team cars really working well together, still within about a second, Will, and they're just running there through the second chicane at the moment. We expect, like Nick said, they are really being told to hold station here. They're in the top 5. This is great points for the Radicals. This is a consistent finish they want to maintain. The gapping Marin Escovalak, so keep doing what you're doing.
Graham Carroll had himself a little bit of an incident, but it's okay. It's all sorted out. Andre Borcho on board of him right now as he scraps it out with the HPP car. That is the Orion Racing car of Davide Corruption. Well, Rachel, when do we last see Andre Borcho in P number 22 in a motor race here? He really is struggling in that Coanda car today.
I don't think I've ever seen a white, orange and purple race car down in the 20s in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, but yeah, Andre Borcha really struggling today. Sebastian Job's climbed, of course, up from last place. He's in P20 ahead of him, but yeah, Andre Borcha really not having the day he would like, and well, we're genuinely surprised by his pace. Of course, it is difficult to make up time when you get caught in one of these trains, which he is in. Of course, that one being led at the moment by, that is the driver of Tomo Meglek, the TNT Racing car. They're chasing down what we believe to be an eye on him. Actually, that's what. No, that actually is a pass made by Job. Job, they're leading that train at the moment of cars in the bottom end of the top 20.
And there's a more interesting fact. Of course, we saw Sebastian Job right at the rear of this pack, and he has moved himself up and down in this motor race today. He's now up P11 places overall. But Sebastian Job only running in P number 18 as well. Hunting down Jorge Montanez in that scrap for P number 17, but Job is 3.6 seconds back as it stands. Montanez is onto the rear of the driver of Danny Garcia Filio as it stands. As just trying to figure out, as in fact Montanez is side by side as they come down in towards the second chicane, and he's going to lose a position there. No, he's going to gain position over Danny Garcia Filio, and they're going to see on board with Jorge Montanez. We're just wondering, where is Andre Borja? Borja being number 21 as it stands, so that is not a good day for him in the office. And more importantly, out front here, Johnny. Martin Kroenke versus Gregor Huttu. Last time by, they were separated by nothing. This time by, they're separated by 1/10 of a second. Kroenke is not pulling away from Gregor Huttu at the rate that he maybe wants to.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Hutu's 2.4 seconds back, despite qualifying up on 3/10 in pole. And yeah, that could be due to the 2-lap qualifying system. But you mentioned that it's very close in terms of pace. Now, Huttu has to do something different. Will the pit phase come into play? That's very interesting. Because in terms of attacking the pit lane, now, this is a true story. I have passed someone under braking on the entrance into the pit lane at Monza, both of us trying to pit at the same time. And that's where practice comes in as a race car driver, Rachel, and you know that. And you've experienced that definitely in terms of oval racing. If you can't enter the pit lane under green flag conditions, you are going to lose an immense amount of time.
Oh, certainly, and this is something I experienced this week in the iRacing Blancpain Sprint Series, of course, Johnny. That was racing at Sonoma this week, and that's got a really tricky pit entrance. We talked about this, of course, after Phillip Island, how difficult that one is, but you need to practice pit entries, and a lot of these guys don't. Even at this level, it's something free time we talk about. You can push so much deeper into some of these pit entries, like Sonoma, for example. You can go the whole turn 11 corner before you have to put the pit limiter on. You have a lot of time you can make up, but most drivers will just come down the cones, put the pit limiter on and they'll cruise, or they'll just won't have the full speed they could take down one of these pit entries, like Phillip Island. Monza here, you can go very deep. We talked about it again at Road America, but you can almost hit the crest of that hill before you brake because the momentum will slow you down. And it's something that can be a real advantage. Monza, of course, tricky because you have to tighten up off the edge of Parabolica, and you come straight in there, of course, up towards the front of this field, though. At the moment, Martin Kroenke, gaps come down a little bit to Gregor Huttu, Johnny. Down by 0.2 of a second, 2.1 at the moment. Of course, if you do want to catch it live timing, see exactly where everybody is on this racetrack, you can go to timing.racebot.tv. You can catch up with exactly where everybody else is on track. Will?
Indeed so, as here's Mitchell de Jong. We're riding ourselves on board of him right now as he continues that battle with Marin S. Kollak. Battle for P number 6 on track as it stands. We're working ourselves actually towards the halfway point of this motor race. So Johnny, it does seem to be as though we're on a one-stop strategy. As here we can see two Koina cars going side by, actually not a Koina car, it's David Corpse there on the Orion race team car versus Andre Borcha. And Borcha will get himself past there. David Corpse, a car off the racetrack there, right around there as well. And that is going to be a driver. I don't know who it is, but Johnny
Sebastian
is a driver. That's Job, and Job's had a miserable race there now after he's moved himself up positions, but he's falling backwards now.
He's had a typical race for a driver who's still finding their place as a sim racer / race car driver. In terms of, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to try and find how you're going to push the limits. He's frustrated, he's down the order. I want to get this race over and done with. I don't want to be fighting for the last positions. But as Job makes another mistake, those tyres heat up quite a lot after you spin. We've seen drivers suffer for the next half a lap after they have a minor spin or minor issue. They really need to keep their composure, as Vincenzo Amico behind also trying to have a look here on Sebastian Job.
Yeah, we can see a replay there of Sebastian Job down in towards the second chicane. Let's see what happens. And, well, you just see the back end of that car just steps out as he heads himself into that second chicane, gets himself onto those sausage curbs, and from then, it's hello, gravel trap, how are you this afternoon? Job is actually wide on the field. Jake Sturgis then your first real driver on towards pit road. And, well, we do expect this to be a one-stop race for these drivers. They are on towards pit road now. Jake Sturgis out and away in 4.4 seconds. We've had Jorge Montanez on pit road as well as Emil Henriksen. Jorge Montanez 4.3 second stop as he currently works himself then back out onto the racetrack. So Frostmaster Movano Racing not doing that well here today, Johnny.
No, definitely not. And Movano, who have been a team that they've been trying to find drivers. We know Carla can't race this year, Tommaso Carla, due to a lot of personal commitments for him. They have no idea whether Patrick Holtzman is with the team or not yet. Apparently he's not with the team. Well, every morning that I wake up, and I said this before, that I check my news articles, and I'm sick of the fact that I've heard that Patrick Holtzman's in the news for leaving Movano. That's a joke, by the way, because he's never in, we never hear about this stuff, and that's one of the issues we need to fix is we don't even know if Patrick Holtzman's still with his own team. Nevertheless, though, he has had occasional spikes as a rookie last season, and now as a second-year driver. I think he's one of those drivers that is an interesting project in terms of developing, and he's not racing out here today, but this would have been a perfect racetrack for him to really fight for a top 5, top 10 result. Remember how well he did here last year?
Indeed so. Robin Friscott's by the way out of the way in 5.2 seconds there in the iNEX Racing Team car, all the way down now in P number 23, but he has himself a good pit stop there. A bit longer than what most drivers would have wanted for, but it's okay. You can go back out and do some more laps. Yuta Saito versus Kazuki Omishima. Rachel, I have noticed that Saito gets right onto the rear of Kazuki Omishima, but doesn't pass him. Maybe Saito is just saving a tiny bit of gas right now.
Could well be, Will. This would be a good time to do just that, but you've got to be very careful exactly how much you save and how much time you give away when you're doing this sort of thing, as you can, unfortunately, attract this sort of fast. Hard to save fuel, you've got a lot of on-throttle time, and that's a major factor.
As Yuta Saito now comes down in towards turn number 1. You can see all those DRS flaps there going up in towards the first chicane. As they come out of the chicane, you can see just behind Richard de Jong still batting out a Marin S. Kolak. When's the last time we talked about the fact that a Koanda car was struggling so much over trying to pass another machine, especially an Orion Race Team car? We know how fast Orion can be, but it's proving a world of issues right now to Mitchell de Jong through the second chicane, down towards the first Lesmo here, and de Jong is struggling, Rachel.
Yeah, he really is. Mitchell de Jong really not had the pace today. The car pushing quite wide, so it could be that the Koanda car is eating its tyres a little bit. The gap at the front really narrowing down now. This could be the phase we're seeing them go off. We saw it with Andre Borcha. Gregor Hutu's caught up by another 3/10 on Martin Cronke here as we approach this time in the race. About halfway through now, and this is really starting to be a concern. He should be looking at his pit stop soon, we believe, for Martin Cronke. Are they going off at the end of the race? Is there going to be enough time for Hutu to catch him?
A one-stop strategy will mean they'll be in around lap number 28 in this event, potentially a little bit beforehand. As they can see, Yuta Saito versus Kazuki Omishima. What you might do, if you're radicals, is you bring your drivers in on different laps. But as it stands right now, it's Cronke leading by 1.8 seconds over Gregor Hutu, then Oli Pakara in third, then Kazuki Omishima, then Saito, then Kolak, de Jong and Piatella. They are your top 8. 3 retirees so far: Antoine Hegelin, number 18 machine, number 05 machine of Alex Simpson. The biggest one, Johnny, is that one of Yoni Tomada.
Yeah, so you just feel for the guy as well, because 2 of those incidents this season, he's done nothing wrong. And you don't want that to degrade him mentally when he approaches testing for the next 2 weeks. Because if you can't manage your own driver well, as an iNEX team boss, as Mitchell de Jong goes off the racetrack here at Lesmo 1, if you can't manage your own driver well and he ends up being demotivated and you don't get these same race win results, it could really ruin a good prospect for the team. They're looking so good this season. Now, on towards this Mitchell de Jong dilemma. He's got the pace, but he just, the dirty air and the front end of that Koanda SimSport car does not turn into corners when he's behind Marin Cholak. So I think de Jong has the pace, but he needs to undercut and needs to do something in the pit phase.
As you can see there, you got yourself Martin Cronke on towards pit road. We just saw David Corpse moving himself past the driver of Andre Borchers. You talk about the tyres falling off there for Koanda SimSports. There was a real life example as Martin Cronke in towards his pit box. You've also got Kazuki Omishima, Yuta Saito, Mitchell de Jong, Marinus Kolak all in towards pit road at the same time. Cronke out and away in 4.7 seconds. Let's have a look back and let's have a look at Yuta Saito. There you can see it's a busy pit road, but Gregor Hutu will stay out and he'll do himself another lap. Yuta Saito versus Kazuki Omishima. Omishima will come out ahead of that one just for the time being, as Marinus Kolak versus Mitchell de Jong. We expect this one to be close. Oh, it's mighty close, because here we're on board with Mitchell de Jong. It's in the case of who's bolder. Mitchell de Jong will finally get himself past Marinus Kolak, and that's a case of almost bullying the competition there, Rachel.
It certainly is, but it's what he had to do at this sort of racetrack. You've got to push your way past, and he did that. He did exactly what he had to do now. Up himself now, believe to... Oh, he's P10 for now, but yeah, he dropped back quite a bit. He's going to be chasing after, I believe, Olga Hapala at this stage. He needs to see if he can get back up there and push himself higher into the top 10.
Riley Preston sets the fastest lap of the day in that Orion race team car. He has, though, made himself a pit stop so far in this event. Gregor Hutu is on pit road in that number 6016 Redline car 1 lap later than Martin Kroenke. So can Hutu make that magic work like he always does? Was it a good in lap there by Gregor Hutu? We won't fully know, but it's a 131.6 in lap there for Gregor Hutu. Comparison, 131.7 for Martin Kroenke. Just 1/10 of a second out and away then will come the driver of Gregor Hutu.
Okay, has it?
Where is Kroenke? Kroenke will come past and he will take himself there the race lead back. And Rachel, that is seriously important.
It really is, and passing here is quite difficult for these guys at a very sharp end, Will, so important that Kroenke can get that. Plus, his tyres are a bit warmer now, the car's a bit bedded in, so expect him to pull a gap a little bit wider against Hutu this time by. Once Hutu's tyres are up, though, it should be back to the same sort of situation we had, about a 2-second gap, which still maintained towards the end of this race, and then we'll see if Hutu can push harder this stint and reel him in.
More drivers on pit road. Here comes Paul Ilbrink then out of pit road in the Radicals Online machine. 4.2 second pit stop for him, as this is a very, very busy pit road. Ali Pakala technically leads this motor race as it stands. Simon Meglek is on pit road, as we can see him right now. We've got ourselves a Birica Racing Team car on pit road as well. And actually, this is a very long pit stop. Simon Meglek, a speeding penalty for him then. He has to serve a second 16-second pit stop there as well. Pablo Lopez for the... That's 2 drivers in a row, Johnny, that's had to serve speeding penalties. Pablo Lopez and Simon Meglek, 15 seconds each there, as Pablo Lopez, 15.9 seconds. Was he getting damage or was that a speeding penalty?
I have no clue, to be honest with you. Unless it pops up on a penalty screen. It could be on racebot.tv/timing as well. That's something we can look out for. This subliminal little promo there. But you know what? If you broke the speeding penalty, you can't complain. It's computerized and it's not going to really judge anything about that. But anyway, back to Ali Pakala, who has exited the pit lane in the 3rd position. Let's look at the dilemma here, because Kroenke has gained about 1.5 seconds on Hutu. But Hutu did the smartest thing, and that was to pit later than Martin, because if you pit at the same time and you end up behind Kroenke, how is that going to help you gain time? You know, I'm more than happy losing 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds by pitting 1 or 2 laps later, and if you gain about 0.2 a lap with fresh rubber over the next stint, and you end up catching up to Kroenke, then you have to pass him. So at least pit later, get the fresh rubber for the second stint, the smartest thing you could have done, and Pakala pitted later to lead a lap and gain an extra point for him. So very smart decisions here from the Team Redline drivers.
Lap number 28 of 53, score complete here then at Monza. We are now past half race distance. Here are your top 8, bottom of your screen. Kroenke leads from Gregor Hutu, then Ali Pakala, Kazuki Omishima over Saito, and De Jong, Kolak and Piatella as it stands right now. We will step aside for just one moment, but you won't miss a thing. We'll take your Racebot TV side by side. Hey Johnny, say a number between 1 and 3.
3.
There we are. Get it! Since 2010, the highest echelon of sim racing competition has focused on NASCAR and Grand Prix racing. 50 of the best drivers in the world doing battle for championship glory. Each man for himself, and even though there may be teammates on track, each driver is in command of his own destiny. Until now. 2016 sees the start of a new era in World Championship competition, with team racing getting its chance in the spotlight. No longer can one driver rule supreme, but you must rely on those with whom you share a car, a setup, a strategy. Endurance racing can be very different to other forms of motorsports, with races in this series lasting either 3 or 6 hours. Teams of 2 or 3 drivers, perhaps on opposite sides of the world, will share seat time, each having to collectively work towards one common goal. Crash out, and it's not just you who you let down. Officially sanctioned by SRO, it will be teams of drivers who will go head to head, car to car, rival to rival, in the pursuit of a championship. And there's over $25,000 in cash and prizes up for grabs. Some of the world's biggest sim racing teams are represented. There's also a group of teams who haven't seen this stage before, who want to make their mark and say we can hang with the best. The team racing revolution is here. It's loud, it's exciting, and it lives on iRacing Live, starting April 23rd. You never miss a moment on Racebot TV side by side as we have Mitchell de Jong up to the rear of Kazuki Omishima. And Johnny, we're heading ourselves now on the exit of Lesmo number 2. That's got a lot of gravel. You can't say the same about the curve Parabolica.
The Parabolica. Well, number one, hats off to iRacing for laser scanning a historic circuit in motor racing. Number two, unfortunately, they've been forced to laser scan a Parabolica with immense amounts of tarmac runoff, which I'm sure a lot of people agree. I remember Sebastian Vettel said they should at least have had, where that green little outside strip, as Mitchell de Jong has a little bit of a peak here at Umeshima, that green little part of the tarmac, they should at least have like an AstroTurf strip or something, so if a driver goes off, he's at least penalised for going off. You know, we saw drivers last year who would go completely off the racetrack and still maintain the same gap. You know, they should at least be detrimented in a way. Nevertheless, this first chicane, as de Jong now has a look on the inside of Umeshima.
Yeah, and de Jong will move himself now up into P number 4 in this motor race. As you can see that the driver of Kazuki Omishima down in towards P number 5, but Omishima is looking back. He says, hello, I want another bite of the cherry, as they come down in towards the second chicane. And well, a defensive line there by Mitchell de Jong, but that is all legal, Johnny.
Yeah, it's all legal. He only changed his line, went back into the braking zone because Umeshima really wasn't alongside him, so nothing to look there, ladies and gentlemen. De Jong has got his way past, but look, both drivers going off the racetrack, pushing hard through Lesmo 1. Now you're mid-apex, you can't, as de Jong goes off the racetrack again, you're mid-apex, it's blind, you're anticipating the exit of the corner. Sometimes you don't know the speed you're carrying through there, and you only find out when you're in the gravel on the exit, but they both live for another day, and they continue around here through Ascari.
We'll bring our social media expert, Nick Rowland, into this one. Nick, what have you seen so far in this motor race that really excites you?
Exactly what we've just seen there is Mitchell de Jong. He has carved his way through the field superbly well and has taken himself up to 4th place in this race. And it's been really, really impressive to see. He has battled his way through. He had a great pit stop, as we saw, and he took another position there. And since then, he's been turning in some very, very fast laps. He runs wide every now and again, ever so slightly, just really testing the limits of the track. But he's been absolutely superb. I just want to say also, towards the end of that first stint between Kroenke and Hutu, the time barely even moved between them. They were lapping pretty much identically for a good 5, 6, 7 laps. It was very, very impressive to see.
Oh, we just saw there that the driver of Kazuki Omishima once again passed Mitchell de Jong. And Rachel, that's important for Radicals. If they can get themselves ahead of Mitchell de Jong, that is a big win in their division. But now, New Soto do the same thing, as we're down to a total of, what, 17 laps in this motor race?
So I should say 5 minutes of the race even though. And this is where it all really matters in holding the race together. It's fine to have a great run for the first half, but if you can't secure it in the second half, you've done your pit stop. Now you've got to run to the end. You've got to make sure you make the end of your start. The gap between Hutu and Kroenke, for example, up to 3.5 seconds, the widest it's been as Gregor Hutu settled for second. Did he hope to beat Kroenke in the pit cycle when he missed that up? Do you think he's just given up? Is this him saying, second will do for the points? Akala, well, you know, he's 9 seconds back from the pair of them. It's huge. Omishima and Saito, they're fighting pretty hard. In fact, Omishima just got back past Mitchell de Jong there for P4, so... And we've got the Radicals up in P4 and P6 in a moment. Mitchell de Jong, he's desperate to get further up. He's in P5 now. Can he hold on to that, or will he drop back further?
Well, there's an interesting fact there, Johnny, because the fact that right now it's 3.6 seconds to get between P number 1 and P number 2, as again, Hutu pushes wide on the exit of the second Lesmo. We go on board of him. But for Hutu, is this a case of waiting until the month of May before pouncing, or is this a case of he's been beaten by Coanda once again?
Well, he has won, 50% of the races in his career, and it's not like he's won every single one of them, or he's had the chance to win every single one of them. He's definitely had the chance to win most of them, for sure. But you're not gonna, no one's perfect in life. So one race loss, who cares? You finish second. That's a good haul of points for yourself. It's a very long championship, 16 races. Watkins Glen could be a very interesting round for. Remember last year the fight between him and Kroenke, as de Jong now very close to Kazuki Umeshima.
Yeah, and very, 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 very close right now as we have a look back to that one there. On board with Mitchell de Jong as they head themselves out of the final corner there, the Curva Parabolica. He loses a little bit though in the run down in towards turn 1. Will he be able to gain any momentum in towards turn 1? The gap is 1/10 of a second. Oh yeah, Mitchell de Jong back up into P number 4. And Johnny, that is exactly what de Jong wanted to have happen to him. Although they're side by side once again.
Yeah, he doesn't get the run out of the corner. Too deep under braking. Now Umeshima around the outside. He might have the inside into the second chicane, the Della Roggia. That's where de Jong has to defend now. He has the space. And Umeshima plays the safe game. He does not throw it up the inside. And I think that means de Jong should run away if he keeps the next couple of corners clean in through Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2.
Yeah, as de Jong now up into P number 4. He is your biggest mover in this event so far. You'll see there that graphic on the left-hand side of your screen. De Jong up 9 places. But Piatella and Preston, what a run by both of those drivers. Piatella is, of course, is now up a total of 12 places in this event. 18 places. Yeah, Riley Preston, where has he come from here today, Johnny? Because you know this driver from the Pro Series of Road Racing. We know just how fast he can be.
Well, his switch in the final race of the Pro Series at the Nürburgring helped him gain his first win in the iRacing Road Pro Series or Pro Series of Road Racing. And so he is very, very strong. And he's had a great result here in the World Championship this season. He's had a good run. He's had, I wouldn't say inconsistent, but he's sort of just learning the tricks of the trade. A very decent prospect, you know, someone we never really... He did shine early on in the Grand Prix series about 18 months ago, so a driver that wasn't necessarily overlooked, but I think underestimated in terms of ability. But here he goes now. He gets to prove his worth in the Orion Racing team.
As it stands, though, your retirees, Antoine Hegelin, Yuri Tamada, and Alex Simpson, they are your only retirees. Only one drove for one lap down, that is Pablo GoPro Lopez. Comes off a slow pit stop there, Rachel, and Pablo Lopez, well, this is not where he wants to be right now.
It's certainly not. It's really, really hurt him. Actually, he dropped back to 1 lap down, so really bad timing to get it done. He maybe should have got it done a little bit sooner, in fact, but he's in a good position, and he can try and fight back from this one, but he needs better finishes than this if he wants to keep his iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series license.
Is it too early, Johnny, to talk about the licenses, or are we just focusing on racing right now?
No, yeah, it's way too early to talk about licenses because you got another 11 rounds to go. Saito is very close to Umeshima, doesn't get a good run though. You know what's so good about this circuit? You've got a road course and a banked oval, which by the way, anyone who's new to iRacing, they have laser scan the banked oval too, so definitely get your hands on this track. They should incorporate both layouts, have 100 cars, 50 of the World Championship drivers and 50 of the peak antifreeze drivers, and have them each in their Formula 1 car and the NASCAR as Saito gets very close here to Umeshima. They should have a 3-hour race, and the winner gets $1 million, and then we determine who's the fastest driver out of the 100. I think that is my type of all-star race. We should do that. Yeah.
It could be better. You have the NASCAR drivers doing the net banked oval, whilst the Formula 1 drivers are doing the actual road course, and see who finishes.
Who would win?
Well, all right. Who would win? Ooh. Well, no, we're not going to debate.
Or Daytona, road course for GT cars, oval, 100 mile an hour NASCAR pack racing. If you can through the road bit, you might actually survive.
We are, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, going to have ourselves the All-Star Race, which will take place on the 4th of July weekend. Be here on Racesport TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. Our provisional track is going to be Homestead Miami Speedway, but that one may well change. As we can see, we've got ourselves then, again, Yuta Saito, right on the road, Kazuki Omashima. As it stands right now, these two Radicals online drivers, it just seems to be that Yuta Saito just hasn't got the speed to pass their own teammate. Out of the Parabolica they come once again. Down towards turn 1. Will Saito pounce over Omashima there, Rachel?
It could have been. That was perhaps a little bit keen, but well, these guys probably would have been told by their team leaders not to mess up here. Please don't bend the cars. We'd like a P5, P6 finish. This would be great for the Radicals. So I think on top of everything that we said, if you can pass clean, you do so. If you are definitely fast to go for it, but otherwise don't risk each other's races. In two Radicals online cars hitting each other would possibly be the worst thing in the world.
But is a P5 finish enough for that team, or as it stands right now? Because Saito runs himself in P number 6. Omishima runs himself in P number 5. They head themselves out of the second chicane down towards Leslie number 1. Once again, Johnny, and we see so often here that Saito is a very fast driver, but Omishima himself is a very, very fast driver that we know was this close away from winning a race a couple of years ago.
Yeah, a race we always talk about at Montreal, where he blew it in the final laps, and Mr. 5-Time stole that race from him. But, well, not stole the race from him, he earned the race from him, but you know what I mean. Umeshima and Saito did finish in the top 10 at Interlagos in round 1. And these two drivers, when they get races right, such as today, there's only 12 laps to go, and there will not be any commentary curses, but they are just so quick, and they're so entertaining to watch, and that's something that we need to start improving on is letting drivers shine to where they're good at. You know, for example, if you covered this turn 1 braking zone in gravel, it might be a little bit less safer, but then you'll be able to see who the good brakers are in terms of who's more consistent. As Saito has a little bit of a look, as Cholak has joined this fight too. So anyway, just something to ponder about. But Cholak has joined this battle, and he's caused a little bit of a hassle here for Yuta Saito.
Yeah, as David Corbusel will move himself there past the driver of Jorge Montana as the P number 16 on track as it stands right now. But Yuta Saito, let's go back and have a look at him as he battles it out with Manuel Kolak, and Kolak there will move himself up 1 position, Johnny. He's now in P6 on this race.
Yeah, good stuff there from Marin Cholak, who has his World Touring Car Championship experience to rely back on. He's had a very topsy-turvy roller coaster Pro Series of road racing, so another rookie in this series too. In this top 10 right now, Cholak and Preston are the only real rookies in there, and we saw Graham Carroll, who our champion from that Pro Series, who has had some good results this season. Peter Berryman, who's 5th in the championship coming into this round, another driver who's been strong. So it's good to see the talent just keeps reeling in, and drivers really want to take a shot at the World Championship, and I think they're improving the licensing system too, so it's much quicker to get in for 2017.
2017 will be a fantastic year in the World Championship Series and also the Blancpain GT World Endurance Championship as well. And hey, we've not talked about that yet, Rachel. In 1 week's time, we have got ourselves the Blancpain GT World Endurance Championship round number 1. It'll be from Brands Hatch, I think. And it'll be here live on Racebot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live, as those guys, Team Racing, is the beneficiary of the day.
That will be awesome. We'll cannot wait to watch that one. Of course, we've got a great team lined up to bring you all the coverage from that. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fast. It's going to be furious. It's going to be endurance racing. These guys are going to have to make sure they last the time. You're going to see different drivers getting in the same cars, and it's going to be a team effort, and it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, you'll see that one on April 23rd here on Racebot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live, of course, as we'll have ourselves one of the world's biggest sim racing teams take part in the 3rd World Championship Series. Yuta Saito has his rear ring open as it stands right now, but yeah, 1 week's time, we're going to see something absolutely fantastic there. Will it be Inex? Will it be the team of Redline or Coanda? Coanda, though, Johnny, have been fantastic in GT World, but we don't know exactly what they can do when they go head-to-head with Inex, with the likes of Radicals, with the likes of Team Redline. And that, next week, will be a huge playbook for wide open.
Yeah, this series has been basically adopted by Hutu in terms of the driver who dominates most of it. In the endurance side, not so much as Coanda, as you said. So Redline are fielding a very strong pair of drivers. Enzo Benito, who should be racing out here today in the World Championship, is not, and he will be out there in endurance, hopefully. And it's a good fight to look out for. All available on Racebot TV and iRacing Live.
Yuta Saito still scrapping out though with Maran S. Kolak. Going to bring our social media expert Nick Royman back into this one. And Nick, as it stands right now, the best battles that we see are with Radicals versus the team of Orion Racing.
Yeah, most definitely. That's the closest battle on track, but I will draw your attention towards the front as well, because Gregor Hutu has actually just taken the best part of 4 or 5 tenths out of Kroenke over the past few laps. It was at 3.7, it's now at 3.2, so be aware that one could be starting to brew as well, with Hutu getting closer to Kroenke. But the battle behind Umeshima, Kowak, Saito, and Piatella's joined on the back of that one, and he seems to have conserved himself quite well, so maybe expect attack from Piatella as well.
Must Piatella runs himself right now in this event. Well, outside of your top 5, but he's in the 8th position. You can see he's right there behind the rear of the driver of Yuta Saito. We go on board with Must Piatella on towards turn number 1. He will come. Rachel, I think the victory is kind of in place as it stands right now, but behind it, you've got this fantastic battle of Yuta Saito and Marin Kolak. And of course, Kolak is trying to close up to the rear of the driver of Omashima, but behind, fantastic scrap going on behind Yuta Saito. Marty Piatella is saying, hey, I want that position.
He certainly is. Marty Piatella there trying to make the move on Yuta Saito. He will try and find any opportunity to get through here. They are very, very close here, running through the first Lesmo, and the second Lesmo just coming up ahead of them. The real chance here for Marty Piatella to use his DRS zone here, get that car up into position number 7 on the racetrack as the Radical cars are starting to slip, maybe. Marinesco has moved himself up as well recently, so there's big advantages to be found here on the racetrack, but not going to be enough time right now for Marty Piatella as they go through the Ascari complex there. Just haunting him at the moment, haunting Yuta Saito, to see if he can make a mistake.
Martin Kronke through turn number 1, the first chicane here. He leads this motor race, your biggest movers in the race so far. You see him again on the left-hand side of your screen. Riley Preston is your biggest mover into the top 10. Let's give it a bit of love, though, to Riley Preston, though, Johnny, because he has been absolutely fantastic in this event. Once again, he won't likely get any higher than P number 10 in this event, but he's got a fantastic race car underneath him. Apex Racing UK machine. Talk us through a lap on board of him.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. He is a driver for the future, and he's shown us this before. He'll show us again. Under braking to turn 1, looking for that brake marker. He finds it, and he trail brakes into the corner, but you need to focus on that exit here. The anti-roll bar, the rear anti-roll bar kicking in. He's onto the throttle nice and early, and he gets that speed onto the Curva Grande up to 310 kilometers an hour now. Speed picks up. Braking under the bridge once again, a very bumpy braking zone. You'll see a lot of drivers in the future sort of lose the rear end through there. Make sure to hit both apexes through that corner, and then once again through the Lesmos. Lesmo 1 now, it's blind. You just have to anticipate that the corner is going to be there every single lap for the rest of the race. Lesmo 2 has a small dip on the apex, very easy to unsettle the car, so weight distribution is key. But here we go through this little kink once again and under the bridge, as we spoke about before when we went on board earlier, and then through Ascari. Really maximize the track width there. You have to carry as much speed through the corner, small little bump mid-apex which unsettles the car, but then onto the throttle nice and early once again for a small little straight on towards the Parabolica. Now you carry an immense amount of speed into here as you trail brake, but you will see drivers run off into that tarmac runoff area, which really ruins the racing, as we spoke about before. There needs to be some sort of penalty. He stays to the left, which is interesting. Some drivers like to cut in on the inside, but Riley tends to stay on that left-hand side line to brake here for turn 1 at 100 meters into the corner.
Yeah, and Riley Preston, as it stands right now, runs himself in P number 10 in that Orion race team car. We have, though, got ourselves a couple of outstanding battles going on here, Rachel. Sebastian Job versus David Decorbs. Of course, Job has had himself a couple of issues in qualifying. He was way down the field, like basically last. He's up and down for P number 16. He's hunting David Decorbs for P number 15.
Yeah, he is. I think Sebastian Job's a little bit like me. At the moment, he can run a good race, but just cannot qualify. When he starts near the front, he's great. You know, he hangs up there. He deserves to be up there. But a lot of the time, he always put that car at the back, either through not qualifying or qualifying poorly. And I just love to see what he can do consistently, putting that car towards the front of the race. He deserves to be up there. I think he's a quick driver. He's going to make short work of David Decor here in the final laps, but they need to sort out qualifying, and it's an issue literally throughout the Apex organisation. They need to work on their qualifying setup for the car, they need to work on their qualifying pace as a team. I think they're a phenomenal team in race conditions, but they need to sort qualifying out.
It's not as bad as qualifying, of course, in current F1, but as it stands, but hey, we got ourselves now less than 10 laps of this motor race to go, and Johnny, qualifying here was important when we look back at it, because qualifying, it did prove that Kronke, he started on the front row, and therefore he could get the fantastic maneuver in towards turn number 1?
Well, it's this simple. You've got 620 meters from pole position to turn 1. There's without a doubt, whether you qualify first or second, you're going to be in for a fight under braking into the first chicane. So it's not like Melbourne, Australia, where you've got a little bit of a medium to short run to the first corner and it's medium speed. You have a chance here, whether you're on pole or not, to be passed or make a pass into that first corner. So they say you don't win the race into turn 1. But I'll tell you what, I don't think Lewis Hamilton would be, after the first 2 rounds of the year, would be saying that right now, because you can win the race into turn 1, and it can ruin your race too. So it's something that Kroenke really benefited from today. It's not just turn 1, as Piatella has a huge moment on the exit of Ascari. It's not just turn 1 that won Kroenke the race. He had the pace for the whole event to stay ahead of Gregor Hutu.
2.6 seconds is the advantage right now between Martin Kroenke and Gregor Hutu. Hutu heading himself out the final corner. I actually go on board with him. He cannot, at this point, out the Variante second chicane there, cannot get himself the run over Martin Kroenke. The last time by, it looks as though that almost Gregor Hutu may well have fallen back into a rhythm. Yes, he's gaining time, but Hutu cannot gain what he needs to get himself to the race lead. He is now, Rachel, 2.6 seconds behind Martin Kroenke.
He is, and I'm not sure it's going to be enough time. Well, as it stands, we have got roughly 5 laps we have got 5 laps remaining, and not roughly. Kroenke, flawless pace today. He's done exactly what he needed to do to command this race. Hutu just not had the chance. Of course, he did grid on pole position, but Kroenke had the line through turn 1 and 2. And it was one of those stories from there onwards. Martin Kroenke just making a very clean job of it. Time has come down like it did in the first stint, but not going to be enough for Gregor Hutu. Second, I think, is the best he can do today.
So who's your driver of the race there, Johnny? Because, of course, Kroenke did get the race lead and he now has a 3/10 of a second advantage. But still, we have a look and there are some people who have moved way up through the field. Preston, Piatella and De Jong have each had double digits moves up through this event. De Jong, in particular, is now up into P number 4 in this race.
You don't like Rio Haryanto's chances? No, joking. Kroenke has been absolutely phenomenal in terms of pace, because we've seen occasionally Hutu, such as Phillip Island this year, which was one of Redline's most dominating wins in World Championship history. Martin Kroenke just really, he's found something this round at Monza, and last year Hutu did win this race, so we were expecting another repeat of Redline dominance around Monza. But you can't take it away from Hutu. Pakala's had a great race. We haven't spoken about him much. He's probably had the most boring race of his career. He probably just wants to go grab a bite to eat and grab a beer or something after the race, because he's pretty much done nothing this race. He's just trundled away in P3. He's had a great, consistent, strong result, but he's a driver that needs to find some pace too, because it was 2014 when he won his last race. He did not win a race last season, and I certainly personally do not want to see Olli Pakala not winning a race this year either.
Well, Rachel right now uses Saito right behind the rear of Marin S. Kolak in towards the Ascari chicane. They come once again, but who's your driver of the race so far?
It's tough to say. It's been a fairly quiet race in all fact. I think at the moment, I'd like to say it's going to be Kazuki Yamashima or Yuta Saito, but he started up there, so it's not as bad. I think my money's on Mitchell de Jong at the moment, because Mitchell de Jong's done a great job. He's pushed that car up from 14th on the grid. I'm torn. It's him and Riley Preston. Preston, 28th, one car from last, in the top 10. Riley Preston is my car of the race.
Sebastian Job there. And we knew that he had himself an issue early on in this event, but he's had more issues. He's now down in P number 21 in this event. And Rachel, let's figure out what happened to Sebastian Job.
Let's do that indeed. Well, of course, he was coming through the first chicane there. Oh, he was off just after the second chicane, got on the curb on the exit, and the back end stepped round on him, and round he goes. I think he didn't manage to hit anything, but he put the power down too soon on those curbs, and apparently Johnny's saying that's the 4th time he's made an error in that corner. This one bit him.
Johnny? Sebastian Job,
it certainly is. So he's either gone in too hot into the corner, and he's also the car just doesn't look balanced as he applies the throttle for the exit. So maybe through the oscillation of the suspension, as I mentioned before, when you bounce over the curbs and the suspension just doesn't settle yet, and you're trying to apply the throttle and all the weight of the car shifts to the rear, it's just not balanced enough. So Apex have struggled this round, and we've seen that, and that could be an issue in terms of the bounce over curbs. But Sebastian Job, I've seen him just really struggle that whole race. He's missed apexes at the Della Roggia, he's cut the corner as well, he's spun there twice too, and he's almost lost the car on the exit. So 5 times that I think now that I've seen him make mistakes.
And for Sebastian Job, what this race do is you head yourself closer to the month of May. He knows that he needs good championship positions if he's going to get himself, good race positions, if he's going to get himself towards the front of the championship. But still, P21 is not an event you want to have with 3 laps to go.
No, and with 29 drivers, P21 is even worse than it actually seems, because normally with 35 you've got another 6 drivers, excuse me, that have no, 7 drivers. Sorry, I was correct. So you've got another 7 drivers who occasionally will, unfortunately, make the results seem a little bit better. And I say unfortunately because you never want to be outside the top 20. Every single driver here wants to win the races, and they work so hard for that. But one last key I'm going to leave here is that the top drivers such as Kroenke at Hutu do not have racetracks where they struggle at. They're always on the ball at every single racetrack they're at, and that's one of the big keys to being a strong driver in this championship.
But Rachel, this is such a different racetrack to what we're used to. You can see there, Martin Kroenke in traffic right now. So for the first time today, traffic will become a big issue with 2 laps to go in towards the second chicane. Kroenke has been fantastic, and well, we almost ripped him off before this race.
Yeah, we almost did. I don't think he really had a chance to do it, but at the same time, he's run a very good race. It's been conservative and clean, and this is exactly what he had to do. We say that Martin Kroenke and Gregor Hutu and the likes of those drivers don't struggle. I disagree. I think they do have tracks to struggle at, and tracks, for example, can always be a major factor. The weather is always different as well. Car changes, so we can't say they don't struggle. This is the first year in this car. It's different for everybody, but as it stands, I mean, we saw Hutu struggling at Sebring, of course, in his car. Monza's unlike anything we go to, anything at all. It's a very unique racetrack and brings us on unique sort of challenges. But Martin Kroenke is catching lap traffic here as he's going to be coming to 1 to go. Well,
indeed, so we just saw there Sebastian Job going off the track. We also saw the driver of someone else from the Radicals Online organisation going off down at the first chicane. Johnny, 1 lap to go this time by. Kroenke leads by 2 seconds there over Gregor Hutu.
Yeah, lap cars coming into play, which could affect this race. It was Job and Vincenzo Amico who both cut the first chicane, fighting side by side. But for Kroenke, I think he's got one hand on the trophy so far on this final lap, and he just needs to make sure he laps these cars cleanly and doesn't fall into any miscommunications as he enters the second chicane with a lap car in front.
So here comes Martin Kroenke out of the second chicane down towards Lesmo number 1. From here, Kroenke has himself a 1.8 second advantage over Gregor Hutu unless something happens to Martin Kroenke working himself through this final piece of lap traffic. He will be okay. You can see there he's been cautious, he's been conservative, he does everything he needs to do in that VRS kind of simple machine, and he even gets out of the gas early so he doesn't have to pass the lap car down until the exit of the Variante Sky at the very least. And Martin Kroenke in the VRS kind of sim sports car now has 1 corner left to go here in this 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and Martin Kroenke will head himself out of the curb of Parabolica down towards the start finish line. Martin Kroenke will win round number 5 of the championship there. Gregor Hutu will come home in 2nd place, but Hutu there, the month of May isn't here yet, but we know Hutu, P number 2, will be important in terms of the championship. Oni Pakala now through the Parabolica. He will come home in the 3rd place here today in this motor race, and it will be Kazuki Omashima who will come home in P number 4. What a run by Kazuki Omashima as he runs himself through that final couple of corners. He gets himself a fantastic finish in that Radicals Online organisation. We need to start talking about championships here, Johnny, because Kroenke versus Hutu, this one is as close as it's ever been at this part of the championship.
Yeah, and this is absolutely terrific. You've got two world-class sim racers fighting it toe-to-toe. Kroenke does not want to finish bridesmaid for another season, and he's going to work at his utmost best. He's been putting a lot of hard work behind the scenes at Coanda, and we know it, and he's spoken about it too. And hopefully he can get a little bit more help from De Jong, who we know is not going to be running a full-time schedule, so it's going to be harder for Mitchell De Jong to compete for the championship. But let's see if Kroenke can bring this form onto Watkins Glen. There was another great race there last year between the two and the top two now, and let's hope it is again in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, they had themselves behind the trees there through the Variante Ascari on their cool-down lap. Your final race results will come up in just 1 moment's time. Before we do that, Nick Rowland, what a race it's been here today.
Absolutely phenomenal race. I know it could have seemed boring at times in terms of actual overtakes for certain moments, but I think people need to appreciate just how well Martin Kroenke has just driven there. That was unbelievable to actually watch those gaps fluctuate the way that they did. And we've already been describing about a driver of the day, etc. For me, it's Martin Kroenke all day long. We saw a pole position taken from Gregor Hutu, and off the line Kroenke got the jump, and he has managed that gap so perfectly well with the laps and the consistency that he put in against 5-time. That was flawless. Coanda should be ecstatic with that.
Well, they can see that look up above at Monza as Kroenke comes in towards his pit box, and well, he has completed another motor race and he wins another motor race. But overall, it's been a fantastic day here at Monza. Here, ladies and gentlemen, are your final race results here from Autodrome Nazionale Monza, the 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. As we can see, that Martin Kroenke wins out by 1.3 seconds over Gregor Hutu, but Olli Pakala is 15 seconds back from the rear of Hutu and Johnny. As we have a look for your top 10, that is an important thing, because today, Coanda and Redline beat the rest of the field.
Yeah, and it once again demoralizes people, but I think that's a good motivator, and I think that is the beauty of motor racing, is that some of these mid-pack teams have something to work for now. You know, I think they should take the passion in that, and Suzuki Mishima only finished 3 seconds or 3.1 seconds behind Mitchell De Jong, and what a race from some of these drivers here. Marin Cholak in 6th, which we will round out in a second, Will, but you know, some of these drivers out here, some great results here. A career high for Marin Cholak.
Yeah, they can see he's in P number 6. Kazuki Omishima in 5th, as just ahead of him. Yuta Saito in 7th. Piatella, Hapala, and Preston ran out your top 10. Rachel, again, what a race there by the Orion Race Team car of O'Reilly Preston here today.
Yeah, it was a great run from him, of course, coming from really last place almost, other than Sebastian Job. He's come in with a stunning result there. P10 is nothing to be upset about, of course. Passing here is not easy. But it's easier than some places, and not many of the drivers did do that sort of passing, so great improvement from him. 18 positions gained, that's huge. That's a brilliant result.
Mogarfilo down in P number 12. Well, Johnny, we talked about the qualifying through to race performance. Mogarfilo, again, losing at least 5 positions from qualifying to the race.
Yeah, and that's been a key issue for him all season. I spoke about maybe with the ERS deployment, maybe he's using a fixed setting or a manual setting, who knows, maybe that's affecting him a little bit in terms of setup, and it's driver preference, but something he is doing that's different to his team has to be affecting him right now, and he's got a wide variety of teammates who he can look to rectify his issue, or at least identify his issue first and then rectify it. But he's a driver that deserves more. He's always in history been a strong qualifier and not really strong in race, but he's never been this poor in this season. So, you know, he'll find something over the next 2 weeks, or at least over the course of the season, and let's see how he can progress as a driver. And this is a good mental challenge for him.
Sebastian Job had a fantastically bad result, in his opinion, down in P number 21. And Miko also, he qualified, but he came home P number 22. A couple of drivers are unhappy with what they did here today. As we will step aside for a moment, we'll be back with post-race interviews after these messages. You're watching Racebot TV, streaming live on iRacing Live. This is the 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series from Monza. Since 2010, the highest echelon of sim racing competition has focused on NASCAR and Grand Prix racing. 50 of the best drivers in the world doing battle for championship glory. Each man for himself, and even though there may be teammates on track, each driver is in command of his own destiny. Until now. 2016 sees the start of a new era in World Championship competition, with team racing getting its chance in the spotlight. No longer can one driver rule supreme, but you must rely on those with whom you share a car, a setup, a strategy. Endurance racing can be very different to other forms of motorsports, with races in this series lasting either 3 or 6 hours. Teams of 2 or 3 drivers, perhaps on opposite sides of the world, will share seat time, each having to collectively work towards one common goal. Crash out, and it's not just you who you let down. Officially sanctioned by SRO, it will be teams of drivers who will go head to head, car to car, rival to rival, in the pursuit of a championship. And there's over $25,000 in cash and prizes up for grabs. Some of the world's biggest sim racing teams are represented. There's also a group of teams who haven't seen this stage before, who want to make their mark and say we can hang with the best. The team racing revolution is here. It's loud, it's exciting, and it lives on iRacing Live, starting April 23rd. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. It's been a fantastic day once again here at Monza, where Martin Kroenke wins out for Coanda Sim Sports, and Coanda now have 2 wins this season as we head ourselves closer and closer to the month of May. Johnny Simone is stood by with your race winner Martin Kroenke, and we head ourselves down into post-race coverage. Johnny, take it away.
Thanks, Will. Sitting here with Martin, as you mentioned, and Martin, another great win for you. And it has to be. We'll speak about the race start first, because it just seemed that the race start this round really won the race for you, or won at least 50% of the race for you. The other 50% was just your strong race pace too. Did you really think that you could keep up this pace for the whole distance?
Hello, everyone. I don't know what I should answer to that. I think pace was a little bit better than the qualifying pace. We've started really late with the qualifying setup, and yeah, obviously we seem to lack some pace. Gregor nailed an enormously fast lap, which is something I think I couldn't have managed. That time is out of the frame that was possible with our setup. But race pace wise, it was pretty decent, I'd say. Although tire wear at the end was a little bit more of an issue than for some other cars, it seems. And yeah, the race start was obviously basically half of the race win at least. It was basically the first start in the season that I got remotely right and paid off.
Well, ERS has been a big talking point this season. Did it affect you much out there on the racetrack today, or was it fairly straightforward in terms of managing? Because certainly your teammate had issues out there, Mitchell de Jong, with ERS. So, not sure if you might have fell into those hiccups early on in the event.
No issues today with ERS. Actually, the track was more straightforward to manage than I originally thought it would be before practicing. So yeah, pretty straightforward.
And finally, Watkins Glen, next round, has to be a great event for you to really capitalize on and grab another race win, because you are strong around there. But in terms of Hutu and his motivation now, he hasn't picked up a race win. You surely have to prepare for another fight between you two, and whether or not you'll be working hard over the next 2 weeks to ensure that.
Yeah, I guess you always have to have Gregor on your list. I mean, no matter which track we go to, Gregor is up there and is a real threat. But yeah, looking forward to that. Usually a good track for us. Has been fairly decent in the last couple of years, apart from maybe 1 or 2 races where we had a little bit of a team internal collision. But overall, yeah, really looking forward to that track.
And finally, as well, you have all your thank yous and all the sponsors as well to mention, for sure.
Yeah, first of all, I want to say thank you to all our sponsors, to Virtual Racing School, Anbun Design, EC Sim Hardware, Joel Real Timing, also to you guys for providing a great broadcast. Also thanks to Philip, my teammate, for doing the strategy calls this race, and also to all my teammates who have worked on the setup as well.
There you go, Will. Race winner Martin Kroenke, who's definitely delighted with another race win to his name.
Indeed so, as he wins out here at Monza. We're going to hand it over now to Rachel Whiteford, stood by Gregor Hutu. Of course, Hutu came second here today, but Rachel, in 2 weeks' time, Hutu's never been beaten at the track he's about to head to.
Yeah, thank you very much, Will. Of course, joining me here is Gregor Hutu. Gregor came home today in second. You had the pole today, Gregor. Obviously, you lost that into turn 1. What happened, and could you have caught Martin today?
Well, maybe with a bit of a different strategy, I could have been closer in the end. But no, just seemed to lack pace on the early laps. That's been the case for the last couple of races at least. So that's something to fix for the next race, I guess. And yeah, nice to get the pole. But would have been nice to get the win as well. But yeah, we just didn't have the pace today. So, but no, yeah, the qualifying lap was really good. So just need to work on the race a bit more.
Of course, we saw you in your qualifying lap take a very different line through the parabolica than any other driver in today's race. Just obviously you don't want to let this one out your bag of secrets, but what made you change over everybody else?
I don't know. I haven't really looked what the other guys were doing, so that's just been my line from the start, I guess. So I'm glad it worked out.
Well, clearly it did, and of course we do have Watkins Glen coming up next week. You are the undisputed champion of the Glen. Do you think anybody might have something for you next time by? And have you started testing yet? And are you looking backwards or forwards?
Well, it's going to be a close race. Even though I won the races there so far, we've had a couple of really close races, so I've been a bit lucky a couple of times. So yeah, definitely need to work a bit harder, it seems, on some things, and hopefully can get the win next time around.
Well, hopefully you will indeed do just that at the Glen, the home of Gregor Hutu winning stuff. We're going to pass back to Johnny Simone, and he's going to have a chat to Olli Pakala, who came home in P3.
Thanks, Rachel. So standing alongside Olli Pakala, who did come in 18 seconds behind the leader. Now, Olli, it seemed that I don't know if it was a boring race out there, but you didn't really have much going on. Was it quite motivating for you to race out there on the racetrack with no on-track battles, or are you content with finishing third?
Well, you are slower than guys in front and faster than guys in behind you. It's pretty much you can do anything in the track, just keep the car on track. So yeah, it wasn't really. Racing is always motivating, but sometimes it's a bit boring. At the day it was.
Yeah, well, I did say that when the race finished, you'd be looking forward to grabbing a bite to eat and maybe a beer or two or something like that. But in terms of your pace, now I've spoken to you about this quite a couple of times. You seem to really have the pace to fight for those top 3 results, but is there anything you can find in terms of a couple of tenths or how you manage your ERS deployment, anything you can do to catch up to Hutu and Kroenke? Because we know you have won races in this series before.
Well, if I would know the answer to that, obviously I would have been won like 4 races already. But no, honestly, I don't know. I just need to focus and try some things different. I've been trying some different for the last 2 races, but been better, but still not enough, so we'll see.
And finally, Watkins Glen, you talk about your driving style too, and a racetrack which is fast and sweeping, lots of overtaking opportunities. Is it one that Olli Pakala can take another career win at?
No, definitely not. I favor tracks like where you have, or what's the traction? Like downforce tracks. I don't like those, but slow corners and stuff like that. Go-kart style. That's my thing.
Well, there you go, Rachel. Olli Pakala there finished home in 3. You're not gonna ask or tell Hutu all the changes you're gonna make, are you, Olli? In terms of if you find a hidden secret. No, don't worry, I'm just playing around. You're standing alongside Mitchell de Jong, aren't you, Rachel? Who came home in the 4th position? Who had a very frustrating race today, stuck behind a few drivers.
Yeah, I am. Thank you, Johnny. And Mitchell de Jong, you came from 14th on the grid to 4th. One of the bigger movers in the top 5, or the biggest mover in the top 5, in fact. Recovery race from you, of course. Not great qualifying. Didn't quite have something in the car there. But you brought it back. You had a lot of traffic. In fact, you had a couple of mistakes as well. Monza, not your track?
It's tough to say. Qualifying was very bad. I pretty much failed both my laps entirely, losing second, or maybe not so much on both laps. It just wasn't good at all. So yeah, definitely a bit of a recovery drive. I had an okay start, but heading into turn 1, it's a bit congested. So just tried to play it safe and pick up spots where I could. I had the ERS bug where the car just simply wouldn't deploy ERS for, I'd say, 50% of the race, and as well as the upshifting not working properly on my wheel again. So I thought I fixed that last race, but apparently not. So that made it really tough, especially battling with other cars where I could get past the one and then the car just simply wouldn't deploy ERS or wouldn't upshift, and then I would lose that again and then have to build up the battery, and it was just a really tough race. But overall, happy to finish P4 after all that.
Well, it was certainly a great recovery drive from you. Of course, Glenn, in 2 weeks' time. It's a track on your home shores, probably one you've driven at some point. We know you've got better performance there than you do perhaps here. You looking forward to that race, thinking for more than a top 5?
I hope so. I'm not the biggest fan of Watkins Glen, actually. I'm very much like Ollie. I don't like so much these really high-speed sweeping corners, like the smaller stop-and-go kind of tracks. But yeah, I think it can be a good result. I think the times and everyone's going to be extremely close there. Yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully we can get the car working really well again and see if we can get a 1-2.
That'd certainly be a perfect result, and we want to see you guys beat Gregor Hutu, of course, as it seems nobody else does at Watkins Glen, but we're just trying to argue with Olli Pakala at the moment about not getting finish home races. We've just been saying, actually, in 6 races so far in the season, Mitchell, you've had 3 races in the US, which is great for you. Olli Pakala wants finish home races. No. I think that's probably safest for the rest of the field, and Formula 1 cars don't really work well on gravel. But anyway, back to Will Vincent in the booth. Thanks for joining us, Mitchell. Will, been a fantastic race at Monza, like we always have.
Indeed so there, as Mitchell de Jong then comes home in P number 3. We haven't unfortunately got ourselves Kazuki Omashima. In fact, we haven't actually got any of the Radicals Online guys to talk to. So I'm going to hand it over instead to Nick. Nick, talk us on the race from your perspective as what you saw. Nick's gone as well. Johnny, I'm going to ask the same question to you.
Yeah, well, the race was very, very interesting in terms of the start. You know, you got a good little jump, no real congestion into turn 1 in terms of accidents. You know, we saw some drivers going off the racetrack, but these drivers are more than skilled. They're the world's best. So it is good to see that the battles in the early laps was great. Good action there. The battle for the lead was, you know, we didn't necessarily see them fighting side by side, but it was kept close. And at a track like Watkins Glen, which is it's so easy to overtake at, and we saw such a great race there over the past couple of years, whether it's the Road Pro Series or any other series in general. You set yourself up here at Monza for a genuine, legitimate championship. And a big question must be asked, Will, is whether or not Joni Tomala can fight back from 3 DNFs, 2 of them not even his fault. So this is in terms of mental challenges and team management challenges, whether you can keep that driver motivated. He is world class at the moment, and I'm sure that Kroenke and Hutu, if you add him to those 2 guys, you got a great little scrap on your hands. And maybe Ollie too, if he can improve a little bit on his pace, and Mitchell too. I'm sucking up to everyone who's left in our interview booth here, but I have to do it.
Here's a serious question though, Rachel. Hutu is undefeated at the Glen. Will he be exactly the same when we go there 2 weeks' time? Will he end another season undefeated at Watkins?
It depends. And I've just been chatting to Ollie and Mitchell, excuse me, saying perhaps if they can get Ollie Bacala, not Ollie Bacala, sorry, Alexius Yakola to crash his car again and take out half the grid this time, they might have a chance to run away. But I think that the likes of Racer and Sim Sport will be looking for a win here at Watkins Glen. They want to knock Gregor Hutu off his perch. And I think Joni Tomala will be bringing a rather sharp axe to grind at this race.
And Johnny, if someone does beat Gregor Hutu, this will be one of the biggest upsets in the history of sim racing. Simple as that.
You can say upset as well, but if someone is going to beat Hutu, if it's someone like Martin Kroenke, I wouldn't necessarily call it an upset, because Kroenke has been so close to titles in the past, and he could do so again. I mean, who knows? It was only within a race or 2 last year, and if Tomala can fight back this year, who knows? And as I mentioned before, we got a great little championship once again, and it's turning out to be oh so competitive for another year.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, in 2 weeks' time, we touch the month of May. We're not quite there, but we're almost there. We go to Watkins Glen International. Now, this has been Gregor Hutu's home track. He has won every single year of competition at this racetrack in upstate New York, and he wants to win it again, because if he does, he'll do what he does every single year. Put himself on a streak of race win after race win after race win, and he may well end up with the 2016 championship. But this year, it's more difficult than that, because you have still got Inex there. You still get yourself Commander there, because of course today we saw Martin Kroenke went out. We know that the driver of Dion can still be strong. We know that Parker can be strong. We know that Inex Racing can be strong as well. So today it goes to Kroenke, but this championship is still wide open. In 1 week's time, we head ourselves to the first series of the GT World Endurance Championship. It will be race number 1 here on RaceSpot TV. Don't forget, of course, the NASCAR Peak Anniversary Series powered by iRacing.com will be in 10 days' time. But still, we've got more in this series. The iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, when 5 is in the books. Next time, it will be at Watkins Glen. I've been Will Vincent. That's been Rachel Wyford. Johnny Simone. We shall talk to you all, of course, next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.